not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, now, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
There you are. Good evening and welcome to the Political Asylum right here on Talk. Stand by for 3 thrilling hours of news, views and topical debate. I'm your host, Kevin O'Sullivan, and I'll be with you all the way to 10 o'clock. Get involved, get it off your chest, get on the phone and call me on 0344 499 1000, or you can WhatsApp voice note me on the same number, and I promise to play your message out. It is Wednesday, October the 14th. Here's what's coming up. As our ridiculous government continues to roll out the red carpet for undocumented foreigners who bust into the country illegally, there's a growing feeling that too many of these chancers treat Britain's crazy generosity with contempt, abusing our hospitality by breaking the law, committing serious offences, and when it comes to the 4-star accommodation we provide them with, free of charge at taxpayers' expense, acting with a sense of entitlement that beggars belief. In a little while, I'm going to show you shocking pictures taken inside an asylum seeker hotel in Manchester that I think reveal an unacceptable lack of respect on the part of migrants who trash the rooms that we pay for. One guy coating his room in green spray paint because he didn't like it and demanded to be moved. Another filthy, severely damaged room covered in blood after 2 migrants got into a violent fight over drugs. Why does Britain put up with this? If these people are going to behave in such a disgustingly uncivilised way, why should their applications for asylum even be considered? 0344 499 1000. Stand by for those photos. Just a couple of minutes. In other news, it is now disappointingly clear that alleged tough new Home Secretary Shabana Mahmood is just as weak and useless as her abject failure predecessors, if not even worse. Today she hosted a pointless summit of European leaders clinging onto the desperate pretense that international cooperation will solve the UK's rapidly escalating migrant crisis, which will achieve what all the other summits achieved. Absolutely nothing. Amid this meaningless conflab, incredibly, Ms Mahmood declared that the UK's continuing failure to secure its borders is eroding confidence in politicians and the state. You don't say, Shabana. Who knew? But whose fault is it? Oh, I know, Shabana. It's your fault. Leave the ECHR, stop all the enticements we offer cross-channel small boaters, or forget it. Sadly, human rights-obsessed Labour will never take the necessary steps to tackle this shambles. So, we can already consign Ms Mahmood to the scrap heap of hopeless Home Secretary history. She's already done, finished, trust me. 0344 499 1000. Also tonight, still with migrant madness, it emerges that long-suffering taxpayers, yes, us again, are funding a stupid £260 million scheme to offer art classes, IT lessons, board games, puzzles, and so much more to failed asylum seekers, people who are all set to be deported out of the country. What on earth is the point of this nonsense? 0344 499 1000. Can you think of anything better that we could spend £260 million on? I don't know. British citizens, maybe. Call me controversial. But maybe not people who are about to kick out. This is just insane. 0344 499 1000. People, what on earth is the point of this nonsense, seriously? Plus, perhaps unsurprisingly, given the chaos of Starmer's chaotic current administration, a new poll has revealed extraordinarily good news for reform. A general election tomorrow would see Nigel Farage's party swept to power with the biggest majority in parliamentary history. They'd clean up with an astonishing 445 seats, while Labour would be reduced to a mere 73 MPs, and the poor old Tories would be down to an infinitesimal 7. Whatever Starmer and the establishment gang want to say about racism and fascism and all their socialist insults that they can't get enough of, they're not talking to the people, are they? Farage clearly is. What is he getting right that his rivals are getting wrong, in your view? Let me know. 0344 499 1000. Also, on this evening's action-packed show, I'll talk to a Muslim journalist, a lady who predicts that unless we're careful, Sharia law will happen in Britain. Jake Wallace-Simons joins me to marvel at the BBC and The Guardian's bizarre coverage of the Gaza peace deal, celebrating the release of Palestinian murderers, terrorists and rapists, as if they're on an equal par with the innocent Israeli hostages. Is this anti-Semitic journalism? What do you reckon? 0344 499 1000. And will the peace hold? How much longer are Israel and the West expected to put up with gun-toting Hamas thugs shooting so-called collaborators dead in the streets? Netanyahu and Trump's patience is clearly being stretched. Will Hamas hand back more wrong bodies? If they don't get the hostage coffins right, there may be serious trouble ahead. 0344 499 1000. And finally, disgraced former Deputy Prime Minister Angela Rayner, who campaigned to prevent ministers who break the ministerial code getting payoffs, has, with a sickening inevitability, walked off with her £17,000 payoff after being forced to quit for, drumroll, breaking the ministerial code. Comrade Rayner, the hypocrite's hypocrite. Doesn't sleazy Westminster make you want to puke? 0344 499 1000. All that and so much more. So don't go anywhere. Stick with me right here, right now on Talk, the home of free speech and common sense. Let's spend Wednesday night together. And she's got this brilliant exclusive. It's a shocking exclusive, but a warm welcome to the show to Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Welcome, Isabel. We can't hear Isabel, so it would be nice if we could.
Now you can hear me.
Yeah, it's your fault, was it?
Some would argue that I'm better muted, but anyway.
No, you're not. You're definitely not. We need to hear you. Now, you've brought us this astonishing story. As a journalist, I called it a brilliant story, but it's a shocking story. As I was saying in my monologue, there's this increasing feeling that these migrants, these asylum seekers that we let into the country, they break into our country illegally. We put them in 4-star hotels, give them free food food, free doctors, free dentists, free lawyers, free accommodation, free four-star hotels especially. There's a growing feeling that as more and more of them either get charged or convicted of very serious crimes, sexual and violent, drugs, etc., there's a growing feeling that these people treat Britain's, in my view, mad generosity towards them with contempt. They repay our hospitality by breaking our laws, by just disregarding all decent behaviour. Not all of them, of course, but an alarming percentage of them, a significant number of them. We know there are hundreds and hundreds of asylum seekers awaiting court cases for very serious charges. Some of them have already been sent to prison for rape, for violent attacks, machete attacks, and so on and so forth. So we let them in, and then they abuse our hospitality. Now, you have, through a contact of yours, managed to get hold of some pictures. We won't name the hotel, but it's in the Manchester area. This is an asylum seeker hotel, folks, and we're going to show you some pictures and then we'll talk to Isabel about them. Basically, these are asylum seeker rooms, and one of them is completely coated in green spray paint. You can see that, see this? Now, this apparently was a Mauritanian asylum seeker. And why did he do this? Why did he do this? Because he didn't like his room. He didn't like this hotel and he wanted to be moved. So because he got frustrated and found that the process was taking too long, this was his method of speeding up the process, coating this rather nice four-star hotel room in green paint. We also have pictures, thanks to you, Isabel, of other rooms. Another room where two migrants apparently had a fight about drugs. And when you see this room, there it is. Look at the state of these rooms. This is a nice hotel, by the way, or at least it used to be. Now, on the floor there, if you we may get a close-up in a minute, but the carpet there, covered in blood. Absolute detritus everywhere. Look at the mess of it. Apparently, this was where two migrants, asylum seekers, had got into an extremely violent fight over drugs, which is a story in itself, really. But look at the state of this. So, Isabel, you brought these pictures in. This is through a contact of yours. Well, your thoughts on what we're looking at here?
Well, when I received these pictures this morning, I was just shocked. I mean, some will say, why be surprised? But this is how certain asylum seekers repay the generosity of the British taxpayer. Make no mistake, we, the taxpayer, are paying very, very large sums to put these people up in very nice, high-quality accommodation. I mean, it may not look like it now, but these were extremely comfortable hotel rooms, and they're weighted on hand and foot. You know, we've covered before the luxuries that they get, you know, the very, very, very generous food service they get, 4 meals a day and so on and so forth. And this is repaid by certain individuals by trashing their hotel rooms. Now, we've talked about the blood on the carpet of one of these hotel rooms. It looks as if we at Talk have actually blotted that out. Maybe it's deemed to be too much of a sight for sore eyes. It is a horrible and unpleasant sight. I understand from the very credible source that I fully checked out that the reason there was blood on the carpet is that two migrants were basically beating each other up after falling out over some kind of drug dealing business that they have. Marvellous. You know, why on earth are we accommodating people that behave like this? They've already broken the law coming to our country illegally, and then it appears that they are not only carrying out illegal activities relating to drugs, but also beating each other up violently. Utterly sickening. And, you know, I think we've got to the point where those who are put up in these hotels need to sign a binding contract with the providers and with the government that says, you know what, if we agree to certain minimum standards of behaviour, and if those standards of behaviour are breached, They simply get deported. You know, in my opinion, to trash a hotel room, a free hotel room like this, is in itself enough to disqualify an asylum application. I just think it is such an insult to the British people that are paying for it.
Yeah, exactly right. I think in the light of what we're seeing here, and we've seen this stuff before, I'm not quite sure why we did blot out the blood. I mean, we've got a grown-up audience. I think they probably could have handled it, but somebody here obviously decided that you're a sensitive lot and you have to be protected for some of the harsh realities of life. Later on in the show, I think we might show it properly, but at the moment, somebody... I don't know who's decided that, but trust me, those blanked out images, it's a lot of blood, and it's actually not that shocking because, you know, it's sort of caked in and kind of it's not bright red or anything like that, but there's a lot of blood there, apparently the result of a violent fight. And then we saw the other room. It's a Mauritanian guy, apparently. You know, apparently he just didn't like the hotel, didn't like the room, wanted to be moved. And when he wasn't moved immediately, that's what he did. He just coated the entire room in green spray paint. Because that was his method of speeding up the movement process.
And it may have worked. You know, I don't know what became of any of the individuals in these cases. But what I do know is it's very, very difficult for the providers of this accommodation and for staff to handle it when migrants behave badly. It's quite difficult to get them out. You know, if you or I went to a 3 or 4 star hotel and decided to cover it all in spray paint, not only would we be turfed out immediately, we'd also be paying a very hefty bill. But of course, routinely, neither of those things happen to asylum seekers that treat our hospitality with that level of disrespect. They're simply allowed to carry on. If not in that particular setting, then they simply get moved to another taxpayer-funded place of accommodation. I just think people are absolutely sick of this. You know, this sort of thing, the accommodation we provide, all the luxuries we provide, and the fast-track access to public services that our own people struggle so hard to get, should absolutely be conditional on certain standards of behaviour and respect. And as you said in the opening of this story, you know, every day it seems there are shocking court cases involving asylum seekers. I'm afraid there's another one that is widely covered today. It's an ongoing court case, so we can't do more than just say the facts, which is that the occupant of a migrant hotel stands accused of murdering somebody that worked at that hotel.
We did that story last night. She was stabbed, a poor lady, young girl working at an asylum seeker hotel in Walsall, was stabbed 23 times with a screwdriver. The suspect, the defendant, who denies the charges, according to witnesses, again, he denies in court. He was seen after stabbing this poor young lady who was just working at the asylum seeker hotel, making her way home after he allegedly stabbed her 23 times with a screwdriver. He was seen jumping up and down and dancing and laughing with excitement. We're going to show you after the break, Isabel, another shocking example of, frankly, what happens when we keep letting in more and more young men of sexually active age about whom we know nothing. We're going to show you an attempted kidnap by an asylum seeker, but these crimes, either charges, allegations or proved convictions, I mean, they're mounting by the day, and they are getting more and more worrying. These are the results of this policy, of open border policy. We're going to talk about that in a little while. Open border policy, just letting in people about whom we know nothing. And we knew this was coming because over the past few months we've learned, it was about 2-3 months ago, we learned that there was something like 470 asylum seekers awaiting court cases, because you know the wheels of justice in this country grind glacially slowly, awaiting their trials. But these were really serious crimes, you know, sexual crimes, violent crimes. And now we're beginning to see these cases coming to court, and the full horror of what we've unleashed with this mad open border policy is beginning to become terrifyingly apparent. So I'll tell you what we'll do now, Isabel. We'll go to break. There's a lot of other things I want to talk to you about, but we're going to have a look at this video of an asylum seeker trying to kidnap a poor girl. So that next, stay tuned.
Strange twist at the end, when he was after the sentence, and he was speaking from the dock, trying to be heard, making it perfectly clear that he'd rather go back to Afghanistan. Now, in Germany, there are plane loads of people going back to Afghanistan. I wonder if in 18 months' time, the only thing that stops him being on our streets is we have some kind of deal with Afghanistan. I doubt it, but at least it's a possibility, and the Germans have shown us what they can do.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. I'm still with Talk's international editor, Isabel Oakeshott. Isabel, this is a story of our times, a story of the migrant crisis. This is the story of a guy called Abdul Mawal Ibrahim Adam. He's 27 years old. He's from Sudan. He first arrived in this country illegally in September 2023. In the same year, November, he appeared at Canterbury Crown Court, where he pleaded guilty to arriving in the country without valid entry clearance and was sentenced to 7 months. He was subsequently released, and after he was released, presumably just to enjoy the wonderfulness of Britain, this is what he did. So that's him there, and what you're going to see in a second is him attempting to kidnap. There he goes. Look at this. He's trying to kidnap that poor girl. Look at that. God. Look at that. Now, he's been done for that now. So he's been done for attempted kidnap. Look at that. Look at that. So this is a guy who'd already served a prison sentence for breaking into this country illegally. In itself, by the way, I find that surprising. We don't seem to put anyone else in jail for breaking into the country illegally, but he did. We let him out, and he goes on to do this. So he has pleaded guilty to attempted kidnap in Swindon Crown Court. No doubt he'll do some time in jail, and then we'll let him out again. It's unbelievable, isn't it?
Yeah, well, yeah, it is unbelievable, and yet it's just believable. I mean, I'm still looking at this footage. It is shocking. It's a little unclear. Kev, where is it, in a car park or just sort of?
Sort of shopping centre type area
Yeah.
in Swindon. It was 9:30 at night, so it wasn't in the small hours. It was blatant.
Yeah, yeah. No,
Shocking scenes. Yeah.
It is. And, this is why people have been protesting, taking to the streets, because they are justifiably and entirely rationally increasingly worried about the threat to the safety of, in particular, women and girls. It's not just women and girls who are at risk from this type of appalling, violent criminality, but they are, of course, particularly vulnerable. And there has just demonstrably been a significant uptick in those cases, particularly around migrant hotels. And there's no point in denying that this isn't happening. It just quite simply is. And I just don't see why we should be expected to continue to put up with it. There are a very small number of people who are coming over illegally who have a genuine case for asylum claims and refugee status. But there are an awful lot of extremely dark characters, very, very dubious individuals with long histories of criminality that we know nothing about, and we're asking very few questions and have no actual means in any case to ascertain whether they're talking rubbish or not. And we are simply allowing them to come into our city centres and be at liberty to roam around and do their worst. And I just think it is completely unconscionable. Actually, the default position should be, if you break into our country, you are detained. If we can't seem to send them back immediately, then you should be detained behind bars. The idea that you should be allowed to just roam around, it wouldn't happen anywhere else, would it?
It's ridiculous. The guy does a prison sentence. If you go to prison, that's it. You must be deported when you finish your sentence. A Home Office spokesman, this was by the way, this guy's victim, thank God observers stepped in and saved this girl. God knows what he would have done. She's only a teenage girl, at 9:30 at night. The Home Office spokesman said in relation to this, when foreign nationals commit serious crimes in our country, we will always do everything in our power to deport them. And then goes on to give us some ridiculous percentages and numbers of how many people they've deported. What do you mean we will always do everything in our power to deport? No, just deport them, not about everything in your power. When we have a paedophile, for example, many of whom have done jail terms and been allowed to stay in this country, deport them, not do everything in your power to deport them. Your power you're the government, you should be able to deport people who go to jail. It's unbelievable, as I keep saying.
Yeah, it's that phrase, everything in our power, which is such an absolute craven admission of defeat, isn't it? It's just, it speaks volumes about governmental weakness to say everything. It does,
doesn't it? Yeah.
In our power. Yeah, you're the government. You are all powerful. And before people start writing in and ringing in and saying, yeah, but what about, international human rights stuff? Well, look, we should make the laws in our own country. And that's why, as you and I agree, Kev, and as many of our listeners will also agree, we've got to get out of the European Convention on Human Rights. That doesn't mean that we start behaving with utter brutality or somehow become some kind of, international pariah. We can still behave decently, but we must be able to decide who we do and don't have in our country. Plenty of other civilized countries all over the world do just that, and there's no reason why the UK, now we're not part of the EU, we don't have to be part of the ECHR either.
And as I say, this is going to get worse and worse and worse. I mean, you take places like Bournemouth, where they've got a sort of cluster of 3 intense migrant hotels, asylum seeker hotels. I mean, the crime figures are absolutely spiking there. Only recently, was it 4 I think they were Kuwaiti migrants, asylum seekers, went to jail because they stormed into a shop with machetes threatening the shopkeeper, their local asylum seekers. This is going to get worse and worse and worse. And you're right, when they say, we'll do everything in our power, I mean, that basically means, well, if somebody does something really nasty, you know, like rape someone or paedophile crime, we'll try really hard to deport them. We'll really do our best. It's pathetic, and it's got to stop for the safety of people in this country. The safety of the people in this country is being severely compromised by all of this. Let's go to break now, Isabel, and when we come back we'll talk about what you were alluding to there, our continued membership of the ECHR, and we'll talk about our latest useless Home Secretary, Shabana Mahmood, for that is what she is. That next, stay tuned.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, let's talk about Shabana Mahmood. I'm still with Isabella Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. Today, Shabana Mahmood, Isabel, hosted an international summit, a summit of European leaders, and she is taking familiar refuge of the Labour Party in particular, but all these Home Secretaries, in the lie, the sort of pretense that international cooperation is the key to solving our migrant crisis. She goes on, and she said in a speech, she admitted that this government has, and I quote, failed to bring order to our borders. Really, Shabana? Who knew? What a surprise that is. And she said that the ongoing failure of sealing our borders and the ongoing crisis is, and again I quote, eroding trust not just in us as political leaders, but the credibility of the state itself. Well, she's absolutely right on that, but this is her fault. By the way, these summits representatives came from countries like Albania, Bulgaria, Germany, Greece, Kosovo, Poland, Serbia, and some others apparently. This summit, by the way, let's just get this on record, will achieve what all the other migrant crisis international summit's achieved? The square root of sod all. Absolutely nothing. That's what they will say. We're international. If we cooperate, if we work together, we can solve this. No, Shabana. This is what you have to do. Leave the European Convention on Human Rights. Stop putting migrants in 4-star hotels. Stop giving them free food, stop giving them free doctors, stop giving them free dentists, and stop giving them, mainly, most importantly, lawyers to fight their case to stay. Stop all that. Leave the ECHR and our migrant crisis will start to be solved. She won't do any of that because that's to do with human rights. Labour is addicted to human rights. They won't do any of that. So she is going to be just as useless as Yvette Cooper and just as useless as all the other Home Secretaries who have fallen onto the scrap heap of political history, having failed to even begin to tackle this shambles.
You know what there were many things that annoyed me about this today, but perhaps the thing that annoyed me most was the use of the word proud. Shabana Mahmood said she was proud that the UK was providing international leadership on this issue. How absolutely delusional can you get? The only leadership, the only example we're setting to the world on illegal immigration is precisely how not to handle it. And the idea from our Home Secretary that we're providing some kind of global leadership is frankly embarrassing. But look, they've got a habit of this, haven't they? You know, just as Bridget Phillipson pretended earlier this week that the UK played a leading role in the peace in our times in Gaza, now we've got a Home Secretary pretending that we're playing a leading role in global solutions to organised crime.
We don't need a global solution, do we, Isabel? We need a domestic solution. It's pretty easy. Have a look at what Donald Trump did in America, Shabana, and do the damn same, otherwise you've got no chance.
That's precisely it. Now, of course, it makes sense. And I was only saying this last week. You know, of course, it makes sense to support allies who are demonstrably doing practical things to stop people coming our way. So if there are countries that are actually stopping boats heading towards Britain, brilliant. But I'm afraid that our experience shows that those countries are very few and far between, countries that actually mean it. And what is more likely to happen is that you get what the French do, and we give them hundreds of millions of our taxpayers' money, and what do we get back? Well, basically French shrugs. That's what we get. And so, you know, Shabana Mahmood takes thinly veiled aim at Reform UK and Nigel Farage, saying, you know, pompously, the solution to all of this is not to turn inward. And I think we know what she means by that irritating little phrase. What she's saying there is the solution is not to be Little England about this, but she is wrong. And what Nigel Farage understands that she finds so difficult to grasp is that we can only rely on ourselves in this crisis. You know, we can't actually control what the whole of the rest of the world does, what sub-Saharan wars are going on, what nightmares are unfolding in the Sahara. You know, we can try to help some of those countries a bit, but ultimately, the only people we can rely on are ourselves. It is on us to resolve our border crisis, and it is on her in particular.
Yeah, and already she's proved she's going to be the same as the rest. Labour are addicted to human rights, and therefore they won't leave the ECHR. They'll carry on giving all these migrants all these incredible enticements. As the French always say, how do you expect us to stop them coming across the channel when you in Britain offer them the earth as soon as they get here? They're absolutely right. I mean, almost above and beyond anything, 48% of them, when they apply for asylum, get to stay here. It's ridiculous. Our entire system is ridiculous, and all Shabana Mahmood is doing, just like Yvette Cooper, just like all the useless Tory Home Secretaries as well, is just fiddling around the edges. Here's something she announced. This is getting tough. Migrants coming to the UK will need to speak English to an A-level standard under tougher new rules. set to be introduced by the government. Look, we're not even deporting paedophiles. Do you think we're going to deport people because they don't speak very good English? I mean, come on, it's just absurd.
I mean, they can make these announcements until they're blue in the face, although they don't really announce anything much. But no one's going to believe any of that. You know, there are probably hundreds of thousands of people in our country right now that don't speak level English because we've brought in so many people with zero requirement to do so. So I've got no faith in that whatsoever. And, you know, this summit today reminded me, Kev, of another summit that we mocked at the time, and quite right so, which was at the end of March. And that was one summit hosted by one Keir Starmer. And our hapless Prime Minister convened representatives of some 40 countries. I don't know if you remember it, Kev.
I think I do, yeah.
You and I said...
All these summits blur into one, don't they?
we were like, what a waste of time. This is more than 6 months ago. What a total waste of time. At that time, the Prime Minister once again laughably claimed that he was spearheading, that was the word that was used, spearheading international efforts to smash the vile people smuggling gangs. By the way, Shabana Mahmood still using that phrase. She used it again. Can't believe it.
Honestly, Isabel, look, I've already consigned her to the scrap heap of useless Home Secretary history. She is going to be, or she's already proving, she's just as bad as the rest of them. They've got no resolve. They won't tackle this. They won't leave the ECHR. They'll carry on giving all these asylum seekers everything they've ever dreamed of. Then they'll go and trash the hotels we put them in. It's just going to go on and on and on. Shabana Mahmood is going to be as hopeless, as ineffective and as weak as all the rest of them. It is already very, very clear. Quick pop fact for you. It now turns out that migrants in this country make up 1 in every 6 universal credit recipients. So apart from anything else, even when they get allowed to stay here, these asylum seekers, these migrants are costing this country a fortune. 1/6 of all welfare recipients are migrants. That's unbelievable. Now, also, we need to talk about this before we go to break. Big splash in the sun today, and a very good one it is too. This is just madness. This, we are, us taxpayers, yet again, always us, long-suffering British taxpayers, we're funding a £260 million contract that provides, among other things, luxury art classes, IT lessons, puzzles, pastimes, God knows what, craft lessons, these are people, there's the front page of the Sun, what a waste of money. These are people in immigration removal centres at Gatwick Airport. £260 million we're spending. They're about to be deported. They're these rare people who've had their asylum applications turned down. They're getting kicked out of the country. We put them in these removal centres around airports, and then we spend £160 million giving them art lessons, IT lessons. I mean, this is insane. This is insane. I mean, everybody, let me know, can you think of a better way of spending taxpayers' money, £260 million, than essentially giving it to people who next week we will kick out of the country? I mean, this is just a swirling mass of derangement, isn't it?
I mean, I like to think of these sums of money in terms of what ordinary people have to pay every year in their taxes. So just think about, for example, a nurse or a teacher or a window cleaner or a construction worker, and how much tax they pay for a whole year of work. And it's just, you know, typically, I don't know, maybe £10,000 or something. That represents a huge chunk of what they've spent long hours toiling to earn. And it's just tossed away in this utterly scandalous manner by this government. It must make people who are struggling to make ends meet, which frankly is an awful lot of the population at this point, feel completely sickened that their hard work is going on this sort of totally unnecessary nonsense. Frankly, the people who are responsible for these decisions should be fired. Doubtless it's these big public sector service providers, the Sercos, the mighties of this world, are all enmeshed in this culture of just scandalous waste of taxpayer money.
Funny you should say that. It is a Serco contract.
There you go.
It's a Serco contract. As I say, it's annoying enough when you learn that asylum seekers in asylum seeker hotels are given things like free driving lessons, free video consoles, free trampoline lessons, free trips to the zoo, days out, and all. That's annoying enough. But when you find out that similar kind of luxuries we're giving to people who next week will kick out of the country, who are earmarked to be deported, they're in deportation centres. That's just a disgraceful waste of public money, absolutely disgraceful, and it feeds into this kind of cultural idea that these people, that for somehow or other, we have kind of put these immigrants, these asylum seekers, these migrants onto some kind of pedestal, and they are treated, it's become part of our culture that we treat them a lot better than we treat our own people. It's a sickness, I think.
It's a deep malaise, and it is certainly making a lot of people feel sick. You know, these are detention or deportation facilities for people who are about to be, let's put it bluntly, kicked out. They're not the business lounge of the first class, flights out of the country. It's not a hotel. These are deportation facilities, and we shouldn't be wasting a penny on these people. I don't care whether they've got nothing to do. Give them a pen and paper or a book on, how to behave better and not to come back to Britain, and let them get on with it. They're not our problem anymore.
Don't give them any green spray paint, though. You never know what they might get up to.
Yeah.
Let's go to break. When we come back, good news for reform. An incredible poll reveals that if we had a general election tomorrow, Nigel Farage would become Prime Minister, and he would be sitting on the biggest majority in parliamentary history. Something's going on here. We will talk about that next.
Hamas are just shooting their own Palestinian neighbours because they don't like them, because they're part of a different gang. By recognising those bloodthirsty cockroaches, by recognising those ghastly terrorists, actually it almost scuppered the peace deal. Keir Starmer's in Parliament lying about how actually it helped it. Well, it didn't help it. And they accuse people of talking the country down. Well, they're taking the country down, which is a lot worse than talking it down. They're actually taking it down into the gutter, into the sewer, and further down into the depths and the bowels of the earth, from which it may never recover.
A strange twist.
across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Oh, by the way, a bit of breaking news. A plane carrying American Secretary of Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth was forced to make an emergency landing here in Britain, in the United Kingdom, due to a cracked wind shield in the plane he was flying in. Apparently, he's been at a meeting in Belgium. And was flying back to the States, but had to emergency land here because there was a crack in the aeroplane's windscreen. So Pentagon spokesperson Sean Parnell wrote on social media that on the way back to the US after the NATO defence ministers meeting in Belgium, the plane made an unscheduled landing in the United Kingdom because of a crack in the aircraft's windshield. Also, he said, also known as a windscreen. You don't say, really? Anyway, Pete is alive, well and safe here in Britain. Welcome, Pete. Let's go back to Isabella Oakeshott, Talk's international editor. As I said before the break, extraordinary poll. I mean, we seem to get one of these like once a week, once every 2 weeks now. Always on the basis of if we had an election tomorrow. Well, if we had an election tomorrow, according to this latest poll, it would sweep Nigel Farage and Reform to power with the biggest parliamentary majority in Westminster history, the biggest ever majority. They would win a staggering 445 seats, with Labour reduced to just 73 MPs and the poor old Tories down to just 7. The Tories, according to this poll, would have even fewer MPs than Corbyn's Your Party, which is predicted to gain 13 seats. But, you know, Starmer and the establishment gang, they can keep trying to talk Farage's party down, racists, fascists. They can try this as long as they like. But it seems to me that while Starmer and the gang try and use their favourite socialist put-downs, oh, you're fascists, you're racists, they're not talking to the people. And Nigel Farage and his team clearly are. Something's going on here, isn't it?
Oh, undoubtedly so. I mean, the more they use that kind of language, I don't understand how they don't realise this. The more Reform's poll ratings just go up because it's just so insulting to the intelligence and basic decency of so many people in our country. One thing about this poll is the date in which the research was carried out, and it was actually carried out just after Reform's party conference. So just to inject a little bit of caution in it, you would certainly expect a party that had a good conference to have a bit of an uptick in a survey like this. And it was carried out before Labour had its conference and before Kemi Badenoch had what was generally seen as a sort of successful conference as far as you could expect from a dying party. So, you know, if that poll was carried out again today, it might be slightly different, but it is so dramatic that I can't imagine that the calculations would be sizably different to what we see there. So it is something quite extraordinary that's happened. I don't think anyone anymore doubts that the era of Labour and the Conservatives just passing power back and forth between them, with all other parties acting like little piggy in the middle, unable to ever catch the ball. I don't think anyone is now saying that is going to continue. Reform, as things look at the moment, has fundamentally changed the UK political landscape, I believe, in a lasting way. You know, I spend probably an unhealthy amount of time thinking, how could Reform mess this up so badly that we just revert to the old scenario of Labour and the Tories? And I do find it hard to imagine how it could go that badly wrong for Nigel Farage's party. That said, political predicting is a mug's game.
Yeah.
3 years out.
And when push comes to shove, when we get nearer the election date, hopefully it will be before 29, but you never know. But as we get nearer, things will get closer. That said, the only thing you talked about, the weird Tory conference that hardly anybody went to, and you talk about the Labour conference. The only thing that both leaders achieved, so Keir Starmer, with all his fascist and racist talk, what he did is he shored up his support in the Labour Party. He's preached to the lefties, the left-wing backbenchers, the left-wing section of the party, and was generally regarded to have emerged from that conference stronger as a Labour leader. He didn't talk to the people. The people of this country didn't like him anymore. In fact, they probably liked him even less, particularly since, in effect, he branded all Reform supporters as racists, so that wasn't a great move. Kemi Badenoch, same story in Manchester. She didn't really speak to the people, but she shored up her support in the Tory party. So, yes, they did OK internally, but neither of these people are speaking to the people of this country. And I think, a la what we were talking about earlier in the show about the migrant crisis, they hear Shabana Mahmood, Labour, going, we're going to make sure that people who come to the country can speak English to an A-level standard. And people go, what? And you get Kemi Badenoch. Yeah, well, we're going to have net zero, but we're not going to have it, as stringent. It's not as tough as with Labour. We still have it, mind you. And people just go, oh, shut up. Shut up. And they go, what they go to about Labour and on the migrant crisis, they go, then they hear Nigel Farage basically say, well, what we'll do is everybody who turns up here illegally, we'll deport them immediately. We'll deport all these asylum seekers. We'll clean the country up, turn the boats around, maybe whatever. He says, we're going to do some tough stuff. We're going to completely abandon what he calls net zero stupid. We're going to get rid of all that green claptrap. And the people of this country go, yeah, that's what we want to hear. We want to hear firm resolve. A man with a plan. Neither Starmer nor Badenoch have really got a plan. They are hamstrung by Westminster caution and a kind of addiction to human rights and green claptrap. And the people of this country have had enough. That's why I think Reform do so well in these polls, and I think will continue to do so.
That's right. Now, of course, what those other parties, what Labour and the Tories will say is, oh, well, we heard this actually from Keir Starmer in his conference speech. This is just someone selling, what is it, a snake oil seller or whatever it is he called.
Snake oil salesman.
Snake oil salesman. So the line of attack that they'll adopt is, well, Reform's just offering things that they can't deliver. And that's the key word there, can't, because our traditional establishment parties have been all too quick to say things like, we'll do everything in our power to deport foreign criminals. What Reform is saying is, no, we're actually going to change our powers so that we have the power to say, we're just going to deport them.
We will just do it. Same thing, now Rachel Reeves, Rachel from Accounts. By the way, I've been lying. I am going to put your taxes up. But it's Brexit's fault.
Yeah, right.
I mean, really, Rachel, do you think anyone's going to buy that? It is so desperate.
It's so desperate, but it's sort of all they've got, really, to say it's Brexit's fault. And how can it be when you look? I've been looking at the economic outlook. I think the IMF has just published new data with projections for 26, 27. And, the UK is doing better than Euro countries, better than France, better than Germany. So how can they say, well, it's all down to Brexit? It doesn't make any sense at all.
I know. I don't know if you had Prime Minister's questions today, but there's a growing sort of sense that this Labour, as they're called, they're just lying. Starmer was clearly lying through his teeth about the Chinese spy trial. They weren't. Jonathan Powell was not substantively involved. Oh, so he was involved then.
Yeah.
It's like, who do they think they're kidding?
I genuinely think these people are delusional, that there's something wrong with them. Just going back to the international summit today of Balkan leaders and Shabana Mahmood. I mean, as an example of the power of international cooperation, they literally cited the one in, one out policy, which currently stands at 26 out, 2,885 in.
Yeah, and
I mean, are you kidding me?
And since Starmer, by the way, they've been coming over in fairly small numbers, but they've continued across the channel day in, day out. Last couple of days, more coming across. And the number that since Starmer took control of this country is approaching 60,000. It's ridiculous. It's ridiculous. It is out of control, and they're not doing anything about it. They have no plans to do anything about it except for ridiculous international summits, which, as I said, like all the other ones, will achieve nothing. Isabel, fantastic week. Thank you again. We'll talk next weekend. That's Isabel Oakeshott. Next up, we're going to talk to a Muslim journalist.
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, well, say now, well, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. This is the second hour of tonight's Political Asylum, and in about half an hour or so we'll take your calls. I'm also going to talk to Jake Wallace-Simon about some of the coverage of the peace deal in Gaza. I mean, The Guardian and the BBC acting as if, a few Israeli hostages got released, but so did Palestinian prisoners. As if these Palestinian prisoners, they're kind of murderers, rapists, terrorists, and there's no equivalence. You know, the Israelis were innocent people taken prisoner, kidnapped, held hostage. But if you looked at The Guardian, you'd think they were exactly the same. There's no difference between the Palestinians being released from prison and the hostages being released from the tunnel. So we need to talk about that, and indeed will. Also, later in the hour, I'm going to talk about this peace deal itself. I mean, how much longer can it hold? I mean, I think the most incredible story that isn't, in my view, getting enough coverage is that the Hamas thugs in Gaza have been taken to the streets And, you know, they're supposed to have disarmed. They haven't disarmed. They've been they're gun-toting, and they're shooting what they call collaborators dead in the streets. I mean, that's not disarming. How, you know, Trump says, oh, you know, if they don't, we'll disarm them. I'm not sure what he means by that. But it does seem that there are elements of our Hamas friends who are determined to screw this up. And I wonder how much longer they can try the patience of Israel, Donald Trump and the West in the way that they're behaving. We'll talk about that later in the hour. But first up, what we're going to do now is going to talk to a Muslim journalist, a young lady called Khadija Khan, who wrote about... well, she wrote in this weekend paper, she wrote about the threat of Sharia law, that she says it's real and we have to be careful. She's a Muslim woman. She grew up in a strict Muslim family in Pakistan, and she talked about what that's like. She talked about how Muslim culture, Islamic culture, can very often subjugate women, treat them as if they barely exist. We found this out at the weekend. There was a fun run. A Muslim mosque in East London staged a fun run, open to everybody. Didn't have to be a Muslim. It's very inclusive. Yeah, everybody could go, everybody could take part, except for Muslim women over the age of 12. They were banned, and I think that sums up what Khadija was trying to say in her excellent article in the Mail on Sunday. So we welcome Khadija to the show now. Thank you for joining us, Khadija.
Thank you so much, Kevin, for having me on.
Now, we're just looking at a picture of this fun run in the mosque, or organised by the mosque in East London. And I mean, I've got a feeling that if you went into the intricacies of British law, this would be illegal under the Equalities Act. You can't ban women from an inclusive event, and yet they're banned because this was a race, if you like, staged, or a fun run, if you like, kind of staged under Sharia law, under Islamic law, as opposed to British law. What did you think when you saw this going on?
I mean, it was not surprising for me at all, but it was shocking because this event wasn't taking place in Afghanistan or in Iran or in Saudi Arabia or in Pakistan. It was taking place in the UK. And that was shocking because this mosque, the East London Mosque, has been organizing this event for years now. And it's only this year that this event has become a topic of discussion. For so many years, they were organizing this event while excluding women and girls from taking part in this event, and nobody bothered at all. And this is shocking. This explains how slightly and slowly and gradually our society is shifting towards Sharia compliance. I mean, this trait of segregation, I wouldn't call it even segregation. I would call it gender apartheid. And this is an essential aspect of Sharia compliance. You can observe it in religiously conservative Muslim societies around the world. And now this has been normalized here in the UK, where people don't bother if women and girls are being excluded from a so-called inclusive and family event. So for me, it was really shocking.
But you point out, though, that there's a strange syndrome in this country that, as you rightly say, if Christians or any organisation said, right, there's a fun run, but women can't take part, people go, well, this is sexist, this is misogyny. If it was a Christian run or a Jewish run or whatever, people go, that's wrong, that's wrong. And yet, because it's Islamic, because it's a Muslim run, it's part of the Islamic culture, that liberals in this country turn a blind eye to this. And as I say, Khadija, if we looked into it, I haven't looked into the intricacies, but I bet you this is actually against the law. It's against the Equalities Law. You cannot exclude women purely because they're women, which is what's happening here. And you say in your excellent article it's a heartbreaking story that you grew up in Pakistan in a strict Muslim household. And your dad was reasonably liberal insofar as when you were a little girl, he did allow you to cycle in the street, go on your bicycle. But when you complained to him that a group of boys had jeered at you for being so permissive, your dad told you that you were the problem and banned you from ever cycling again. You were 8 years old. You say that it was only 2 decades later, after you moved to Germany in your late 20s, that you ever rode a bicycle again. So what was it like growing up in that kind of environment? I mean, you're obviously, you know, an intelligent woman. I mean, even as an 8-year-old, did you think, why am I being banned from riding a bicycle?
It wasn't, normal for a child to be banned for something. That wasn't that child's fault. And I was blamed for what happened out in the street. And it was shocking for me as a young girl, as a child. But we have to understand this one thing, that this whole thing was taking place in a religiously conservative, setup, where women are seen, as less intelligent. They are seen, so provocative. And if any part of their body is seen, or even not seen covered, because in Pakistan, people are not, usually wear dresses like with bare arms or bare legs. They're all covered, girls and women. Still, they bear the burden of honor of the family and religion. And if something unpleasant happened to them out in the street, it is their fault. So my father was acting, in that, framework, which was a normal thing in Pakistan and is a normal thing in Pakistan, because still certain part of Pakistan are very religiously conservative. But again, as I said, that it was shocking for me that this whole thing was taking place here in the UK. And I see the similar kind of mindset pervasive in certain section of Muslim communities, where girls are told to cover themselves from head to toe. We see 4-year-old girls sitting in the prom, they're children, but they are wearing hijab. And why? Because this is a toxic modesty culture. As I say, that people always argue with me that Islam has different interpretation in different societies. But what unites all those society is the toxic Islamic modesty culture that seeks to subjugate women. And this is exactly what is happening right here in the UK. Sadly, many Western progressives who claim to be the champions of women's rights remain silent over these terrible, terrible abuses. I have seen too often Western leftists ignore the victims when these victims are women oppressed by Islamic misogyny. I want to ask these people questions. I have so many questions, but here I put some questions to them. Why should misogynistic religious belief be immune to criticism? Why is it okay for women in other parts of the globe to struggle for equality and freedom, while women of Muslim heritage are expected to adhere to the patriarchal, cultural, and religious belief of their societies? Let's not forget that we have normalized this toxic modesty culture to an extent where the UK Home Office extended an invitation to its employees to participate in World's Hijab Day, even though its own rules state that women may seek refuge on the grounds of religious persecution if they are coerced into compliance with religious codes or dress. This is indicative of a wider problem. Progressive ideology demands that we should, or we ought to, celebrate the toxic Islamic modesty culture that seeks to oppress women. And I would say, try telling this to the women of Iran or Saudi Arabia or Afghanistan, where these women suffer in silence, and women who are in the West. They are born and raised in the West, but they face ostracization and violence from their own family members and communities for daring to refuse to comply with this toxic modesty culture. But here we are.
Well, here we are, but I mean, overarchingly, there are 85 Sharia councils in this country, which could otherwise be described as Sharia courts. Now, they don't sort of make judgments on crimes or anything like that, but they make judgments on marital disputes, divorces, all sorts of kind of issues involving Muslims. So in other words, there is a sort of justice system going on just for Muslims. Now, you know about the Muslim culture here, and you say in your piece that we should fear, we should be careful, we should be worried about the rise of Sharia law. And I would suggest, Khadija, that the kind of people who organise that fun run in East London, the kind of people who believe women over the age of 8 have no right to take part in anything like that. They have to disappear behind their hijabs and burqas, and be only speak when they're spoken to. These are the kind of people who would like to see Sharia law operating on a full basis in this country. Am I right?
I think it is indeed worrisome how such dogmatic beliefs, such Islamic beliefs, which are dogmatic, rigid, misogynistic, discriminatory, are to determine the boundaries of permissible discourse on women's place in British society. I mean, this is concerning for all of us as a society. And all this gives credence to the claims that the trait of yielding to religious outrage has given rise to a parallel justice system. And Sharia councils that you just mentioned, they operate as parallel justice system in our society. They say that these are advisory councils, but they are not in practice. They are Sharia council where Islamic laws are being implemented. They rule according to the Islamic jurisprudence. And these laws, these edicts are considered divine laws among Muslims, which cannot be disobeyed. And the women's right exploitation and violation at these Sharia councils have been well documented in mainstream media here in the UK. Still, they still exist. And we see that people who are very much supportive of these Sharia councils, they try to make it all about, guiding the Muslims and all that. But we know the reality. The religious and cultural belief that impose, such discriminatory and misogynistic, restrictions and laws on women and girls, they have been normalized now in our society. And as I said, many people don't bother about it.
Yeah.
And I would say that if we are still reluctant to discuss misogyny in religious context, as we see, such discerning shift towards a society that is, aligned, if not in policy, but in practice, aligns with certain aspect of Sharia compliance, then I think no materialistic support mechanism can be effective in protecting and preserving women's rights here in the UK when it comes to protect minority women.
Well said, Khadija. I'm just going to finish on a point I want to make, that the synagogue attacker, the terrorist attacker, Jihad al-Shami, had 3 wives. He kept 3 wives. And I would suggest, we'll talk about this another time perhaps, but I would suggest that perhaps we should bring in a law to stop that, to actually not allow this kind of aspect of Islamic culture to thrive in a country where we're not officially, legally supposed to be letting polygamy happen.
Just to add up, in your point, that we don't have to bring a new law. We just have to uphold
the current
British laws.
That's what I'm saying. That's exactly what I'm saying.
We have to just make it normal for the people to live under one law, which is equal for everyone. We don't have to give privileges to certain religious community just to appease them, just to get votes from them. This is a huge responsibility that is on the politician of this country. They have, given importance and privilege to certain self-proclaimed community leaders, spokesperson of Muslim communities, who have, I would say empirically, hijacked the whole community, the whole narrative, about Muslim communities. So this is where we need to, focus to uphold the laws which are applicable across the board.
I totally agree with you. Well said, exactly right. So, as I said at the start of our conversation, Khadija, I suspect that this fun run in East London that banned women, adult women, all women over the age of 8, was against our equality laws. So perhaps we should think about enforcing that. So no, you can't have this run unless you let all women take place. And by the way, well, he's not around here to talk about it anymore, but Jihad al-Shami, you can't have 3 wives. That's against the law in this country. You're right. Let's start upholding our own laws and not let the Islamic community create their own laws. I think you're exactly right. Really good to talk to you, Khadija. Come on again soon. That was Khadija Khan, a journalist, telling you her story of her life as a Muslim. Isn't that a tragic story? Riding a little bicycle when she was 8 years old. Boys saying, oh, you're too permissive. Her dad says, right, you can't ever go on that bike again. It was 2 decades before she rode a bicycle again. She cried. I mean, this isn't right. It's ridiculous. 8 years old, and that was the age, by the way, above which no one was allowed to take part in this East London fun run. As I say, I think that's against the law, and I would suggest that the authorities, next time there's a fun run that bans women, just because they're women, bans that fun run. There's no fun if you're going to ban women. Am I right? 03444 499 1000. When we come back, we're going to talk about some of the coverage, the BBC and The Guardian, of the peace deal in Gaza. And we'll get Jake Wallace-Simon's view on what looks like a fragile peace at the moment. Hamas, as expected, are beginning to play up rather badly. We'll talk about that next, so stay tuned.
end.
Hamas are just shooting their own Palestinian neighbours because they don't like them, because they're part of a different gang. By recognising those bloodthirsty cockroaches, by recognising those ghastly terrorists, actually it almost scuppered the peace deal. Keir Starmer's in Parliament lying about how actually it helped it. Well, it didn't help it. And they accuse people of talking the country down. Well, they're taking the country down, which is a lot worse than talking it down. They're actually taking it down into the gutter, into the sewer, and further down into the depths and the bowels of the earth, from which it may never recover.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. Now, lots going on in the Middle East, of course. Looks like Hamas are playing up a bit. We'll talk about this in just a little while, I think. But warm welcome to the show, to friend of the show, Jake Wallace-Simons, author of Israelophobia and Never Again, How the West Betrayed the Jews and Itself. I believe it's a bestseller. Am I right, Jake? Oh, hang on, Jake. I can't hear you. Are we working?
Sorry, yes.
Yes,
Sorry,
it's a bestseller, right?
It is, yes. Israelophobia is as well, thank goodness, yeah.
Excellent, well done. Can I borrow some money off you because I'm a bit hard off? No, seriously.
We'll talk about that later.
Let's talk about the coverage of what's been happening. I want to also address, I think, the rather disturbing behaviour of Hamas with you in just a second. But I was shocked by this. This is The Guardian's front page yesterday. We'll put that up. It says, as the hostages were being released, and of course Israel agreed to release about 2,000 Palestinians. We're talking about some serious criminals here. We're talking about murderers and rapists and terrorists, firebombers. The Guardian says, truce brings joy as Israelis and Palestinians are free. As if there's some equivalence between the innocent hostages held by the Israeli innocent hostages and these criminals from Palestine. Meanwhile, we've got a little bit of, it's slightly grainy, but this was the BBC's coverage as the Palestinians poured out of jail. Have a look at this.
For the Israelis, this is a difficult moment because they see many of these prisoners as terrorists, but for Palestinians, these are sons, husbands, brothers, people who are part of a Palestinian collective culture. Many Palestinians have been in...
Well, that, Jake, was the view from Planet BBC. I think the BBC also went on to call some of these Palestinians heroes. So even in this moment of accord, you've still got these left-wing journalistic outlets practicing what I would suggest is pretty much anti-Semitic journalism, to sort of portray an equivalence between these Palestinian terrorists and murderers and rapists and the innocent hostages held by Hamas for 2 years in those tunnels, the Israeli hostages. As I say, it's bordering on anti-Semitic, isn't it?
Yeah, it's not just anti-Semitic, but it's also inaccurate. It's not giving viewers the full picture that you've got innocent hostages on the one side and hardened suicide bombers, killers, murderers on the other side, and the two are not the same. And giving the audience the impression that they are the same leaves people with the mistaken impression that actually it's a tit-for-tat kind of six of one, half a dozen of the other. And that is a big part of the problem, because it's only a short step from thinking six of one, half a dozen of the other to actually Israel is the bad guy here. And that's what Hamas wants us to get to. That's what Hamas wants us to think. And the BBC and other media outlets have been very successful in playing a part in that propaganda. I mean, I would invite viewers to consider that if what would have happened, how would they feel if one of their family members had been killed in a suicide bomb in Kedumim in 2006, one of the victims of that. And after that, one of the masterminds of that attack, Murad Abu al-Rub, was caught by the Israelis, sentenced to 4 life sentences for the 4 murders that he committed. And he was then freed as part of this deal. Seeing him go free with the blood of your relative on his hands being celebrated by his society is bad enough. But then seeing the BBC interview his sister, as they did, a heart-rending interview where she talks about, I don't know what size clothes to buy him anymore, it's been so long and it's an anguish and all this sort of stuff. humanising and valorising him and his family and society. How would you feel? How would you feel?
Well, exactly. I mean, similar syndrome. What have you made of the saga of the Oxford University Balliol College PPE student Samuel Williams? Let's just play him trying to get people to join in his rather badly written chant. Have a look at this.
I don't want to yap for too long, but a chant that we've been workshopping in Oxford that maybe you guys want to join in. It goes, Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground. Gaza, Gaza, make us proud, put the Zios in the ground.
I mean, it doesn't even rhyme, does it? I mean, if that's the best Oxford University can do in terms of poetry, we're in big trouble. Samuel Williams has now been suspended by Balliol College, by Oxford University. A lot of people saying for that is pure Jew hatred, calling for the death of Jews. First of all, he is under investigation. He should be prosecuted, it would seem to me. But shouldn't Oxford just kick him out?
Of course they should. Yeah, I mean, when I saw that clip, I have to say the person who first came to mind as a parallel was Adolf Hitler. You know, that kind of exaggerated Jew hatred, you know, coursing through his veins and all that sort of stuff. It was like that. Yeah, I mean, in my opinion, universities and schools should put down a rule saying no more politicisation of our institutions. Schools up and down the land are flying the transgender Pride Progress flag, are teaching kids about Black Lives Matter, keffiyehs everywhere, and it only gets worse the higher up you go until you reach university, where students are indulged. They're allowed to play these little kind of communist revolutionary games that they're playing. They're allowed to disrupt graduation ceremonies with Palestinian flags. They're allowed to do the sort of thing that Samuel Williams is doing outside university there. The universities should ban it. No politicisation, no political protest. You do it and you're out, period.
Exactly right. I mean, it's an extraordinary bit of footage, that. And Samuel Williams, I mean, he's deranged, if nothing else. But that is pure racism, pure death threat to a race. You know, that should not be allowed, and he should be a lot more than suspended by Balliol, if you ask me. Before you go, Jack, I'm going to talk to one of the Israeli representatives a little later in the show. But it seems to me over in Gaza, a story that shocked me, actually, to the core, that Hamas, those thugs, are misbehaving badly. Now, they're supposed to have disarmed, and incredibly, in my view, they've been seen dragging people into the streets, far from being disarmed, getting out their machine guns and shooting them dead in the streets, calling them collaborators. Now, this is a severe breaking of the agreement. And you wonder what Israel and perhaps the West, America, are going to do about it. Add that to the fact that Hamas at one point have handed back the wrong body, a non-hostage. That, I think, has really upset Netanyahu in particular. I mean, I'm just getting a bit worried about this fragile peace. I suspect and I fear, let me know what you think, that whilst you got, shall we say, this is a bit of a stretch, but the more civilised members of Hamas, the ones who live in Qatar, taking part in these peace talks, the ones who live in millionaire apartments in Qatar, taking part in these peace talks. Back in Gaza, you got the gun-toting maniacs who don't want this peace and are actively, palpably trying to stop it by shooting people dead in the streets. What do you think can be done about this, and do you fear it might derail the peace process?
I think to call it a peace process in the first place is a bit of a stretch. It wasn't ever really a peace process. Hamas will never sign a peace deal with Israel. What it was a ceasefire, and they were forced to give the hostages back. They have no intention of laying down their arms or giving up their stranglehold on Gaza, as the recent footage has shown. It was a tactical move for them, really. The thing about Hamas is that viewers really must bear this in mind. They're not like us. They don't think like us. They don't think like normal, civilized human beings. They're not people who you can come to an agreement with. As Golda Meir famously said, they want us dead. We intend to live, and between life and death, there isn't any room for compromise. These are murderous fanatics. That's through and through. And the fact that Israel has withdrawn, taken the live hostages back, some of the bodies, has given Hamas breathing space to put its uniforms on again. You didn't see those for 2 years while it was in combat, but now it's putting them on. And to, once again, mete out vengeance against Palestinians who oppose them, Palestinian clans and enemies, not just shooting them, but also torturing them. I came across one video which has stayed in my mind, which I wish I hadn't seen it, if these things flick up sometimes in your timeline, of a man blindfolded sitting on the floor and a Hamas member with a concrete block bringing it down on his leg and breaking his shin in half. It kind of goes into a U shape. I can't get that out of my head. This is who these people are. They're not just murderous fanatics towards Israelis. They're murderous fanatics towards their own people as well. And I'm afraid with people like that, they've got to be beaten. They have got to be beaten. That's what Israel was about to do before Trump pulled them back and they signed the deal. But it looks like increasingly Israel may need to go in and finish the job at some point.
Yeah, because of course Israel has already cut back aid, reduced the aid that was part of the agreement because of this behaviour, because of the wrong body, and because of what we're seeing here. So to summarise, or to sum up, Jake, you do fear for this fragile peace.
Yeah, I think the thing is that Israel has, in a way, its main objective, which is the live hostages home. As we speak, there are 2 further bodies in caskets being transferred from the Red Cross to Israel right now. There are still about 19 bodies unaccounted for. That's what Israel wants as well. But then after that, the other agenda for Israel is Hamas to be no longer a threat, and that's important. But that's equally important, or even more important, for the people of Gaza. How is Gaza going to be anything other than the hellscape it has been for 20 years if Hamas is still there, literally calling the shots and, doing the sort of bullying and torture and murder that we've seen in recent weeks? They do need to be abolished, got rid of, destroyed, liquidated, and Israel probably is the only force that's got the balls to do it.
Exactly right. Well, on a happier note, congratulations on the book. I've got my signed copy and I'm reading it. It's an excellent read. Well done for that. And thanks once again for joining us, Jake. Always good to have Jake Wallace-Simons on the show. In my view, one of the greatest voices, pro-Israel voices in this country. Now, we're going to go to break now. We'll take a few calls afterwards, and then we're going to go back to this issue because I do feel... I don't know what you feel, let me know, give me a call, 03444991000, that this peace that Donald Trump, Donald Trump deserves, endless credit for what he's achieved here. But will it hold? Will it hold? As I say, I don't think you can stress just how shocking a breach of what is supposed to be going on it was when we saw Hamas, Jake talking about them torturing people on the streets, breaking their legs, shooting people dead. This wasn't in the playbook, was it? So we need to we'll revisit that in just a little while. But after the break, we'll take some of your calls. 03444991000. Stick around.
across the UK. On DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
I've got a quick message here. This is from John in Wallington. He says, that Oxford University student is an excitable idiot. How on earth did he get into Oxford? Well, you know, you can be sort of intellectually gifted, if you like, but you can be really, really stupid. So my mother always said that. She said the problem with clever men is that so many of them are stupid. She's got a point. That guy is incredibly stupid, but he's going to get his collar felt. He's under investigation. That is against the law. He is threatening, he is calling for the death of Jews there. That's against the law. And Oxford University should do more than suspend him. Here's an idea of how to end his studies. Prosecute him and send him to jail. Then he can't do his PPE at Balliol, can he? That'd be a shame, wouldn't it? A deranged, racist little dork. Right, let me know what you think about him, by the way. 03444991000. Later on in the show, around about 9:20, we're going to be taking your calls for the rest of the show, all the way to 10 o'clock. We're going to take a couple now. Let's talk to Francis in Essex. Hello, Francis.
Hello, it's Jean, actually. Francis is my surname. Sorry, a lot of people
That's
get
a bit rude, isn't it? It just says Francis.
That's right, Kevin.
Hello, Jean. Thank you for calling. What would you like to say?
Well, I'm just wondering, what is this government so frightened of? Why don't they put their foot down and say things, you know, like, no to the immigrants, or no, we're not going to give you anything. Go away, you know, you come back in a boat, go turn around, go back, we're not going to give you anything.
Exactly right, Jean. You see, this is why people are gravitating towards Nigel Farage and reform, because they're just saying, well, no, we'll put a stop to this. No more of this madness. And yet you've got Keir Starmer, basically he's just saying, well, keep coming and we'll put you in nice hotels and we'll give you nice lawyers. It's ridiculous.
Yeah. Well, they would come over, wouldn't they? You know, because our kindness is looking as a fault. You know, I always say that, you know, kindness isn't a fault, of course. But, and also, I mean, Keir Starmer is just like, well, what can I say? It aggravates me just to see him, you know. But, I mean,
he's annoying, isn't he?
Yeah. But I was saying, when I was youngster, and if I did tell a lie, my mum used to say to me, you tell a lie, your tongue will fall out. You know, so obviously he was dragged up and his mother didn't say anything.
Yeah, well, he certainly wouldn't have any tongues left right now, nor would his entire cabinet. They're all inveterate liars. They lie and they lie and they lie. It's a massive problem, Jean. I mean, no offence, but you've been around a while. I have too. I've never seen a government like this or a Prime Minister like this that lied as much.
No, I haven't. But it actually, watching old television and listening to my mum and because I'm sort of in my 80s now, you know, but they were saying about what happened before the Second World War, you know, and the ordinary people were really discontented, you know, with obviously the government they had at the time.
Yep.
And along came someone who was talking, you know, sort of like for the ordinary people, and saying, you know, we'll do this for you, we would do that for you. Unfortunately, I mean, he was a megalomaniac, but you can see what's happening. You know, here, people are so disgruntled about immigration.
Everything. There's a feeling that society is decaying. I mean, law and order is a disgrace. I mean, it's just dying. And so many of these asylum seekers seem to be committing serious crimes. People are very, very worked up about the migrant crisis, quite rightly so. And as you say, Jean, we have a government that doesn't seem to do anything about anything, nothing at all.
Right.
It's really, really worrying. And as you say, in the old days, politicians, they weren't necessarily all that trustworthy, but they had this kind of code. They never directly lied to the people.
Exactly.
They would talk weirdly and circuitously around an issue rather than tell us a lie. This lot, Starmer and his gang, they don't care less. They just stare us in the face and tell us barefaced lies. It is
can do that. I don't know how he can do that and get away with it.
What can we do? We're stuck with them for 4 more years. Well, we know what to do in 2029, don't we, Jean?
Well, exactly, yeah. I'll be voting for him, will it?
No, I don't think any of us will be doing that. Jean, really good to talk to you. Thank you for ringing. Call me again. That was Jean in Essex. Let's talk to, it's time for Tarquin. Hi, Tarquin.
The best radio show on UK radio.
Who could argue with that, Tarquin? Who could argue?
Indeed. It was a brilliant show, sir.
Anyway, mate, what would you like to say? Thank you as always. What would you like to say?
Thank you. You're welcome. Just quickly, 445 projected seats for Reform in the next... isn't that the biggest landslide ever, Kevin?
It literally, if they got that, and I don't think it'll be quite that conclusive when it happens, but if it did happen tomorrow, if they got that number of seats, that would indeed be literally the biggest majority in parliamentary history. It is extraordinary what's going on, Tark.
It really is. Now, the reason I mentioned that, I know you were talking with Isabel earlier about this, that if that is the case, and Labour and all these other cretinous Fabian morons will heard that, they'll hate it, but it's the truth that it's going to come. Mm-hmm. They're going to go ahead and spend our taxpayers' money, billions to the billions, on this just godforsaken digital ID plan, like the test and trace, blowing money up into the Swanee.
Yeah.
The first, I would imagine, on day one, Nigel and
well, they I can't use that sort of language, Tarquin, but
they work in bars.
No. Seriously, you're right. But then again, we've spent over the years, billions have been spent trying to get digital ID cards or ID card systems into
Tony
play.
Blair,
Tony Blair did it, and I believe the Tories tried it once. Michael Gove spent a lot of money on it at one point.
Yeah.
So it's something that they're going to keep trying, but we have to keep resisting. That's what I say.
Totalitarian, isn't it?
It is totalitarian, but they're socialist.
So un-British, you couldn't make it up.
Well, they're socialists. What do you expect? That's the way it goes.
1984 Mark II, isn't it? 2.0.
Yeah, indeed.
Keep up the great work, sir.
Always good to hear from you, mate. Thanks so much. Good call, Tarquin in London, making his feelings very clear. Right, we'll go to break now. When we come back, we're going to speak to Eugene Kontorovich. He's an Israeli legal scholar. About what he makes of what's going on in Gaza with Hamas. Jake Wallace-Simons just saying that Jake's saying that he sort of believes that Israel is just going to have to go back in and finish the job. They're taunting the West. They're taunting Israel. Coming out on the street. It's supposed to be disarming. They agreed to disarm. Shall we say they're grey-suited factions. They're people that the leaders, the well-heeled leaders who live in penthouse apartments in Qatar, who took part in the peace talks. They agreed that Hamas would disarm. Not only are they not disarming, they're shooting people in the streets, shooting people dead, calling them collaborators. I'm not sure how much longer Israel are supposed to put up with this, or indeed the West. Donald Trump making it clear that if they don't disarm, he will see to it that they get disarmed. Quite what he means by that, I'm not entirely sure. But we'll talk about that next, so stay tuned.
Hamas are just shooting their own Palestinian neighbours because they don't like them, because they're part of a different gang. By recognising those bloodthirsty cockroaches, by recognising those ghastly terrorists, actually it almost scuppered the peace deal. Keir Starmer's in Parliament lying about how actually it helped it. Well, it didn't help it. And they accuse people of talking the country down. Well, they're taking the country down, which is a lot worse than talking it down. They're actually taking it down into the gutter, into the sewer, and further down into the depths and the bowels of the earth, from which it may never recover.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
We're going to go back now to what looks to me to be an increasingly fragile situation in Gaza with Hamas, in my view, clearly taunting Israel, taunting the West, if you like, with their appalling behaviour. They're supposed to disarm. That's the agreement. Not only have they not disarmed, they're shooting people dead in the streets. They're torturing people in the streets, calling them collaborators. So that is not good. Also, one of the hostage coffins has been returned to Israel. Turns out it's not an Israeli hostage, it's someone else. That has upset Netanyahu in particular. So, you know, it just seems to me Hamas may well be playing games. Going to welcome to the show Israeli legal scholar Eugene Kantorovich. Welcome, Eugene. Before we talk, I'm just going to play what Donald Trump said about Hamas if they did not disarm, which they clearly have not done. Let's have a look at Donald Trump.
We have told them we want to disarm, and they will disarm. And if they don't disarm, we will disarm them. And it'll happen quickly and perhaps violently. But they will disarm. Do you understand me?
Yes, you say
because
quickly.
you always, everyone says, oh, well, they won't disarm. They will disarm. And I spoke to Hamas, and I said, you're going to disarm, right? Yes, sir, we're going to disarm. That's what they told me. They will disarm, or we will disarm them. Got it?
Well, look at Eugene. You know, I bow to no one in my admiration of President Trump and what he's achieved. But when he's saying that, I mean, palpably, we can see they have not disarmed to the extent they're on the street shooting people dead. They're calling collaborators. I was just talking to Jake Willis-Simon. He's seen some footage of them torturing some poor guy, chucking a great big concrete block on to his leg, and you see his leg break like that. This is going on right now. My question to you is, how much longer will Israel put up with this?
So Israel has so far, until a couple of days ago, put up with this because it needed the hostages back. And with the live hostages back, Israel can begin to think about responding. But I want to point out, in the 20-point plan, Hamas disarmament is a central part of that plan. But what's important, what I think made the 20-point plan such a breakthrough, is that Hamas is not a party to the plan. All previous plans depended on Hamas agreeing. Obviously, Hamas is not going to agree to its own extinction, but Hamas is the bad guy here. They are the terror group kidnapping and holding hostages. So previously, Hamas had been negotiated with as if it was an equal, as if it wasn't a designated terror group. So now the agreement was between the US, Israel, and Arab countries, Islamic countries, to get broad credibility in the Arab world. But Hamas is not a party, is going to be imposed on Hamas if it has to. The legitimacy of this comes from Qatar, Hamas's main backer, agreeing to it. Qatar might be playing both sides. Hamas, of course, Hamas did not sort of accidentally become jihadis dedicated to the murder of Jews. They really believe in this. So no kind of diplomatic solution is going to make them stop believing. What is important is that pressure was put on to get them to release the living hostages. That opens up much more potential for Israel to actually seek to forcibly disarm them.
And do you think that might happen, that, you know, now that the hostages have been released, you know, their last playing card, if you like, Hamas's last playing card, that given that they are quite clearly, in my view, taunting Israel, taunting the West, saying, look, we've still got our guns, and look, we're killing people on the streets. Do you think Israel, will take action, will go in? Jake Wallace-Simon, I was just speaking to, he said that he sort of believes that Israel will probably have to finish the job with Hamas. Do you think that, Eugene?
Yeah, I think if there's to be any future for Gaza, you have to finish Hamas. Imagine these guys who we see executing people in the street, running Gaza as basically their own mafia kingdom. What happens if international aid comes in and these guys that we see on the screen are still around? It's going to be a replay of what happened for the past 20 years. They're going to take that aid hostage. They're going to shake down the people bringing in the aid. And all of the billions in reconstruction are going to go to make new terror tunnels, new rocket launching facilities, and new weapons for Hamas. They've already played this game. So obviously that needs to be prevented. And President Trump seems emphatic on this point. So I don't doubt him. And when he says we are going to disarm, I don't think he means the U.S.
Yeah, no, yeah.
I think he's very serious about not committing U.S. troops on the ground in foreign conflicts. But what's amazing about it is when he says we, he means America and Israel are as allies. So we, in the way that maybe a president would have said the United States and the UK about a military operation. We means, in this case, Israel is going to provide the muscle for this. Now, it's not clear to me if that will happen quickly in one big push, or if it would happen in a kind of iterative process of attack as is happening in Lebanon. But obviously, you can't have reconstruction. You can't have an international government with these murderers and terrorists running the show behind the scenes.
And these people that we're looking at now, this was in these earlier releases that they turned into a kind of sick showbiz spectacle. These were the previous releases. Of course, to be fair, they did go along with releasing the hostages this time in a dignified, low-key kind of a way. But these people we're looking at, I don't think they want peace, do they? They just don't want it.
And I think we need to give them at least the respect of taking them seriously and taking them literally. They believe in what they say. They say they prefer, death to life, and they want the road of jihad. I take that seriously. And we now see from all the footage that has come out of Gaza from before the war, they had a nice life before the war. They had malls and restaurants and cafes and shopping. And they chose this, and they chose it out of a belief and conviction. And I think maybe today, in our kind of post-ideological, post-religious, post-nationalist age, too many people in the West who wouldn't die for anything don't understand what the fanaticism of someone who would. But we have to take these people completely seriously.
So, in your view, to summarise, you do feel that Israel's going to have to finish the job with Hamas, unless...
Absolutely. Absolutely. And the point of this deal was to get the hostages out. Right? Everything else, that's a whole separate story.
So there will be more trouble ahead then?
There's no rest. There's no rest in the Middle East.
There's no rest. But we've got another minute or so, Eugene. I do think Donald Trump deserves great credit for what he's achieved.
Absolutely. First of all, I think in many ways the war has ended. Right? Just because there's going to be other wars or other conflicts, Israel has fought multiple wars with Gaza, multiple wars with Lebanon. That's the nature of the region. But a real phase of this conflict has ended, and the hostages have been returned. That really changes Israel's position. Israel has withdrawn from significant territory. Israel's not there to occupy Gaza or control Gaza, and so that should make things easier. And I think in an important sense, the war is over. But now there's a new struggle to create a better Gaza. The war between Israel and Hamas is over, because that war was about getting the hostages out.
Okay.
Now the war to make Gaza safe is about to start.
Can I ask you a quick last question? It should be a much longer question, but we haven't got long to go. How much damage did Keir Starmer do to relations, our alliance with Israel, by recognising Palestine? Something for which I want to stress to you, Eugene, a lot of us in Britain feel very ashamed about.
So, and I think Israelis are savvy enough to distinguish between, Britain as a country, the British people, and the current lamentable government. But he did massive damage. It's not clear exactly what he did, because on one hand he said they're recognizing Palestine as a country, but on condition that Hamas is not part of the government. Well, turn on your TV. Hamas is the government.
Still is.
In Gaza. So is it recognized? Is it not recognized? He completely lost all credibility for the UK in this region with which it has a deep historical connection. But I'd say even worse for Britain, he really harmed relations with Donald Trump and undermined credibility in Washington.
Eugene, thank you so much. Got to go. Thank you. Eugene Kontorovich, there, Israeli legal scholar. Next up, we're going to talk to...
Is it transphobic to say only women have a cervix?
Well, it is something that shouldn't be said. It is not right. A woman is an adult female, and the court has made that absolutely clear. I actually welcome the judgment because I think it gives real clarity. It allows those that have got to draw up guidance to be really clear about what that guidance should say. If you want to fight for Remain, vote Labour. Now, there are some who say we don't need Brexit to work. We need to reverse it. I couldn't disagree more. Day after day, there are new allegations of sleaze, of favours, of privileged access. And it's all very well the Prime Minister saying, now, I'm paying for it.
You've decided to repay £6,000 worth of gifts.
Lord Ali is facing an investigation. I wonder how concerned you are that your biggest donor was not fully transparent.
Are you saying you made a mistake?
It was right for me to make those repayments. Thank you. Of course, I wouldn't want Donald Trump round for dinner, but don't underestimate the danger to the world if Trump is re-elected this time around. I'm anti-Trump. I would like to send my warmest congratulations to President Trump on his inauguration as the 47th President of the United States.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Welcome back. It's the final hour of tonight's excellent Political Asylum. Every night, 7 p.m, Monday to Friday. Don't ever miss it, folks. Madness to miss a second. So we've got 60 sizzling minutes still to go. We're going to discuss a couple of stories in just a second with our friend James Melville, social and political commentator. A couple of different stories. But after that, 20 past or so, I'm going to throw open the floor to you. So get your phone calls in, 03444991000. Don't forget those photographs. We'll show you them again in a minute. The photographs we showed you at the beginning of the show. The shocking way at least some migrants are treating the hotel rooms that we give them, the 4-star hotels that we put them in. We've got photographs of them absolutely trashed to hell, covered in blood, green paint. This was a guy who didn't like his hotel, didn't like his room. He wanted to be moved. And this was his way of speaking. That's the blood. We've blacked out the blood there. We've blocked that out. You don't want to see that. But these two migrants had a punch-up in here about drugs, a very violent fight. Look at the state of these rooms. But the guy with the green paint, that was just because he wanted to get moved. So it was like a tantrum. These are 4-star hotels, you know, when they were operating as normal hotels. That's in the Manchester area. I don't know, you're talking about 200 quid a night, minimum, maybe more, maybe more. Look at them, absolutely disgusting. Well, let me know what you think about this. The way this story is about this. This is the way that these asylum seekers, to whom Britain is incredibly generous. We put them in lovely hotels, we give them free food, free dentists, free doctors, free lawyers, free bloody well everything, pay for their lives, and this is the way they repay us. There's this increasing feeling that our ludicrous, over-the-top generosity to these people is being repaid with contempt, So let me know what you think about that later on in the show. 0344 499 1000. We'll get to that in a while, but for the next 20 minutes or so, let's talk to social and political commentator James Melville. Welcome back to the show, James.
Hi, Kevin, you well?
I'm pretty good, yeah, thanks, mate. Let's talk, guys. I want to do a couple of different type of stories with you. The first one is about Angela Rayner, and then I want to talk to you about the recurring story that keeps on happening, the ludicrous empty gesture that Premier League footballers are now going to resume taking the knee in the Premier League, the Football Association's bid to beat racism. Well, they've been doing it for about 4 or 5 years now. You know, there's still no black managers in the Premier League. I haven't seen a black referee for a long, long time. So I'm not sure that racism in football has been stamped out by footballers taking the knee, and yet this virtue signalling nonsense will be resumed this weekend. I'll see it myself when I see my team Fulham beat Arsenal at least 4-0, I would imagine. But we'll talk about that in a minute, because I want first of all to talk about the kind of sickening hypocrisy that is so common in Westminster. So, you will recall during her Labour opposition firebrand days, Angela Rayner campaigned for ministers who had to step down or got sacked for breaking the ministerial code not to get payoffs. She campaigned for that, very vocal. It was corrupt, you can't do that, don't take the money, you've broken the code. Well, guess what? Our shamed, disgraced former Deputy Prime Minister and former Housing Secretary has just, who, by the way, was forced to step down for breaking the said ministerial code, has just accepted her £17,000 ministerial payoff. Doesn't that sum our politicians up? Does it? She's so hypocritical, it makes you want to puke.
Oh, it's terrible. You know, there's almost a thing with the Tories. Everyone expected the Tories to behave badly. You know, that was almost baked in. But with Labour, they said we're going to clean up this mess. And I think the sanctimonious hypocrisy is probably the #1 reason why Labour are tanking in the polls, and Starmer's got the worst approval records into modern living. And so with Rayner, she is just an encapsulation of all of this hypocrisy. You know, they sweep into power, massive majorities, all about transparency, it's all about integrity, it's all about effectively their own version of draining the swamp. But they've done none of those things. They're just feathering their own nests. And who's paying for it? Us, the taxpayer, the suckers as always, who basically allow them their lavish lifestyles of ministerial cars, they're paying the energy in their second homes, strutting off to various climate conferences and the next G7 or G20 or whatever it might be. And this is the thing that most people are concerned about. We've got a cost of living crisis that's been going on for half a decade. People are really struggling to make ends meet, but we're still paying our taxes, and we're paying our taxes to that lot to strut around with their lavish lifestyle, and when they're not good enough, or they're busted and found out, they still get more payoffs. And what will happen beyond that, they end up getting great jobs, working for their cronies, their donors, and then they come back again into power and do it all again. And so whether it's the Tories or whether it's Labour, it's two cheeks in the same backside, and that is why the public are utterly sick of them. And that is why Reform, on the latest polls, look like they're going to clean up in the next election. Reform have got their flaws. But people don't care anymore because they have had enough of these two parties. The sad thing about this, though, we've got 4 more years of this nonsense.
Yeah, exactly right. And but Comrade Rayner, you know, I mean, she, as I said in my monologue earlier in the show, she's like the hypocrite's hypocrite, isn't she? I mean, you know, there's this scion of socialism and left-wing politics for the people, you know, busy buying herself an 800 grand seaside flat in Hove and then dodging out of paying the correct stamp duty on it and then lying through her teeth to try and get off the hook, then effectively gets sacked. I mean, she was, as they say in politics, resigned. She was told, look, you're going to have to step down, which she did, and then accepts the payoffs that she campaigned to stamp out. She said ministers who have to leave their jobs for breaking the ministerial code should not get ministerial payoffs. I utterly agree with her. And yet when it was her turn, suddenly she forgot all about her campaign and took the 17 grand. I say to hell with her.
It's ridiculous. I mean, this is the thing. If you look through their back statements, so when they were in opposition, whether it's on social media or statements made at conference, whatever, I mean, there is like a treasure trove of the very statements they're now doing themselves. And it's just ludicrous. And this is why people really dislike this government, because we're willing to give them a chance. And it wasn't this sort of thing when Blair came in '97 that, you know, people wanted to change and look like government in waiting and were actually refreshed by the idea of Labour back then. Now it was with a heavy heart because people were just sick of the Tories. But I thought, we'll give them a chance. You know, there's a lot of problems. They might solve a few. But actually what they've done is two terrible things. Firstly, they made a lot of the problems worse. You know, look at the economy, it's tanking. So they basically create a situation, make it worse, come up with solutions, make it worse. In digital ID, net zero, you name it, they've done it. Punish farmers, small businesses, a budget that tanked, and we've had over 200,000, you know, job losses and over 6,000 farming-related businesses have gone under. So they're not doing a very good job on that. The second aspect is back to the hypocrisy, wrapped around in that pole-faced, sanctimonious manner where they're always speaking to us or lecturing to us like we're somehow naughty school children. It's all our fault, apparently. It's not. It's theirs. You know, they are hypocrites. They're out of their depth. They're tanking the economy. They're destroying industry. There's no growth strategy. But even then, people might go, well, at least offer some hope in the long term, but there's none of that. Yeah. And all we've got left is a bunch of politicians who are on the front bench that, quite frankly, give off the impression that they're apprentice candidates who are about to be fired. Yeah. And so they're so out of their depth. But the final aspect that people look at and are appalled by is these individuals give off the impression, wrapped around their virtue con, they give off the impression that they're feathering their own nest or they're doing things for their own cronies. They don't care about what's really happening in the northwest or the northeast or the central belt of Scotland, where these areas have been hollowed out for decades. They're not doing anything about that. Yeah. Instead, what they're doing is they are blaming everyone else for actually the problems that they're making much, much worse. It's been a terrible, terrible 15, 16 months. Probably the worst government I've ever seen. And that is largely because I can't stand that pole-faced hypocrisy.
Yeah, I agree with you. And people are disgusted by this. And I'll guarantee you, they're just leaving it for a few months. They'll bring Angela back. You know, and she'll put her snout into the trough once again.
After she's gone on Strictly.
They'll bring her back into the cabinet. They will. They just will. You know, to have to leave your job in disgrace in politics, you know, it's a matter of weeks or months before you come back. It's a disgrace and it's disgusting. Now, let's move on to the other story I wanted to talk to you about because it's getting a lot of heat. For some reason, I can't quite work out. I think it might be because it's Black History Month. Nothing wrong with that. The Premier League footballers, for the first time this season, will this weekend resume their practice of taking the knee in order to take a stand against racism. I'm a regular footballer attender myself, and I know that the fans just hate it. They don't hate the concept. They don't hate the idea of standing up to racism. They hate the crashing, ludicrous emptiness of the gesture that has achieved the square root of sod all in stamping out racism in football. As I said earlier, there are no managers of colour, black colours, ethnic managers in the Premier League, I think I'm right in saying. I haven't seen a black referee probably ever. Certainly not in the Premier League. So, you know, look, sure there are a lot of players of colour, but, you know, in terms of managers, coaches, referees, don't see many of them. So I don't think it has stamped out racism in football. And I think what appalls football fans is, why are you assailing us with this nonsensical virtue signalling that actually started when George Floyd got killed in 2020? You know, what has it done to stamp out racism, this nonsense? Don't virtue signal. Don't waste our time. It's ridiculous, isn't it?
It is. You know, we all agree on racism has no place in any form of society.
Of course not.
You know, whatever it is, you know. But I think the other side of it is that actually football, in the late 70s, early 80s, we're actually pioneers for enabling black players to come through. I mean, West Bromwich Albion were a perfect example of that in the late 70s and 80s, and then more and more players came through, and it added so much to our game. And I think English football were pioneers of that. But I think there's been elements, not just in the UK, but overseas. It's actually worse, obviously, in terms of racist chants, and that deserves to be called out. And I think the authorities, you know, should be naming and shaming any individual who does that. That's the main thing. You know, stop the individuals who are doing it. Let the authorities deal with it. But to actually have this sort of symbolic gesture that is empty, and if anyone dares to criticise that, then this is how ludicrous we are right now in terms of the kind of cancel culture. If anyone dares to go, why are they doing that? What purpose is it serving? Then they're accused of being a racist.
Being racist themselves, exactly.
Yeah, it's just nonsense. It's like people who go on about net zero and having problems with that. They're accused of being a climate change denier. Or it's people, for instance, who criticised lockdowns. They were somehow COVIDiots. And we have this pattern. Another one at the moment as well, for instance, is questioning illegal migration. Well, you must be a racist again.
Racist, yeah. I mean, look, James, I go to football a lot. I mean, OK, I'd support the most middle-class club in all of football, Fulham, yeah. Yeah, do you remember when Roy Keane said, I can't believe it, at Old Trafford now they're selling wine. We at Craven Cottage said, well, we've got a wine list.
I've been there many times.
Yeah, I mean, you know, but what I'm saying in a long-winded way, and I do go to a few away games as well. I don't see any racism from the fans. I don't see any racism. Very, very acerbic chants, but not racist chants. So I'm not quite sure what this is aimed at. It's called No Room for Racism. And I'm not sure who it's aimed at. Who is it supposed to be aimed at? I'll tell you who it should be aimed at. The Football Association and football clubs, who should begin to consider people of colour to be managers, to be coaches, to be referees. How about that?
Yeah, I mean, I think this is the whole thing. It's about pathways from, you know, ethnic minorities coming through any industry, you know. And football, as I said, back in the sort of 70s, 80s, we're pretty good at that. I agree there's more that can be done, especially in managerial and coaching point of views, and it's, you know, certainly that needs to be looked at. But I've always had as someone who is involved in campaigns, it's part of what I do, amongst many other things. Campaigns have a purpose. They've got purpose. If there's some action, if there's actually some deliverables and some outcomes, and they actually achieve something. Otherwise, it just looks empty. And it's an important debate, but the gesture is empty. And there's far too many gestures floating around our, you know, society, public affairs and politics right now. We should get rid of effectively the virtue signalling and focus on real virtue. Yeah. That's actually making a difference.
Yeah, exactly right. Because as you quite rightly say, the No Room for Racism campaign in terms of the Football Association, it seems to me, begins and ends with players taking the knee before the match. That's it. I don't see any other evidence that anything is going on in stamping out racism in the game. And as I said, I don't believe, I mean, there's a few bad apples, I'm sure, but I don't believe for a second that significant numbers of fans are racist. They're not. The chants are never racist. Within the echelons of football itself, the higher management levels of football, it seems to me that is pretty white, uptight and out of sight. You don't see many people of colour there. That's what they should be doing, not just taking the knee pointlessly.
Completely. I mean, Keir Starmer, remember, he took the knee with Angela Rayner.
How can we forget?
I mean, the warning signs were there.
Yeah.
It was, I mean, the king virtue signalling himself. But it's okay for him and Angela Rayner and many others to do all their virtue bits.
Yeah.
You know, there's another one every single week. But actually what people want, it comes back to that point of saying, real virtue is actually making a difference to people, doing something about it. And actually, in the case of Starmer, he's making people's lives worse.
Yeah.
You know, people are losing their jobs, businesses are going under, and they're taking freebies and the rest of it. So, yeah, do your virtue bit, get on your knee, fine. But actually, what people want, when the punters want out there, is to make a difference to their lives, you know, and actually let people get on with their lives and also improve the many, many things that are wrong in this country. But instead, what we do is just dance around issues and instead indulge in loads of aspects of virtue signaling.
Virtue signalling, and when they take the knee before the games on Saturday, you'll find that a lot of the fans will jeer and boo, and the idiots from the FA say, "You see, they're racist." No, they're jeering and booing because they can see a pointless, empty gesture when they know it, and when they know one when they see one, and that's what it will be about. Absolutely ridiculous. I don't know why they're bothering, but hey ho, we live in a virtue signalling world, don't we? James, really good to talk to you again. Come on again soon. That was James Melville, social and political commentator, talking about Angela Rayner, the hypocrite's hypocrite. What do you think about that? Because we're taking your phone calls in a little while. In fact, after the next break. So I want to hear from you, Angela Rayner. The hypocrisy of that, to my mind, is off the scale. Oh no! If you break the ministerial code, you should not get a ministerial payoff. Angela, you've broken the ministerial code. Well, if it's me, that's all right. I'll take the 17 grand. I'm out of here. God, I'm sick of these people. I'm so sick of them. Also, taking the knee. I've nothing against. Obviously, it's good to stand up to racism. It's good to take material steps to get rid of racism. It's a scourge. It's disgusting. It's wrong. But footballers, you know, multi-millionaire footballers, getting onto one knee before a match, which they've been doing now with monotonous regularity since 2020, 5 years. They haven't done it this season so far, and suddenly they're going to do it again. What is that all about? I mean, you know, can't they do something better to tackle racism than just getting down on one knee? Let me know what you think. 0344 499 1000. Also, don't forget, when you get your calls in, those migrant hotel rooms. What did you think of them? Isabel Oakeshott suggesting that if people are going to behave like this, if asylum seekers are going to trash their rooms, behave like that, there should be kind of behavioural code. If you break that code, you smash up your room, you spray it with green paint, you have a punch up over drugs, get blood all over the carpet, ruin the room, then your asylum seeker application, your asylum application is dead. You're out of here. What do you think? 0344 499 1000. Your call's next. Stick around.
vocabulary and word choice. Sarah Potion.
okay.
She is very good, blank, playing the piano. Do you think it should be in playing the piano, on playing the piano, or at playing the piano? She'll start for 10, no conferring. Sarah Potion?
Can you actually believe this nonsense?
This is true.
That's not really
She's very good in playing the piano. What do you think the answer is? In, on, or at?
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
Here we go. You have the floor for the rest of the show, all the way to 10 o'clock. And by the way, after 10 o'clock, we switch to America for our brand new show. Well, not brand new anymore. Newish show. Harry Cole Saves the West, coming at you live from Washington. So that after the 10 o'clock news, and then at 11 p.m, Petri Hoskin will take over the helm of the Good Ship Talk and take you through into the small hours until 1 a.m. So lots still to come. We're going to take calls. We're going to read some of your messages here. Stuart saying, by the way, we're talking about this horrible government and Angela Rayner. Stuart says, didn't one of the idiots in this horrible government, maybe it was West Streeting, say that he wanted Rayner back and that she was fantastic? I think a whole slew of cabinet ministers stood up at the Labour conference in Liverpool to say, let's get Angela back, because Angela is incredibly popular with the Labour faithful, the left-wing Labour faithful. They don't care that she was removed from her job, had to leave her job in disgrace. They don't care that she was on the make, buying £800,000 seaside flats in Hove, and dodging her stamp duty. They don't care about that. They think she's a hero, a working class hero. Yeah, really. She's taking you for a ride, you idiots. But yeah, Stuart, yeah, they all did. West Streeting was one of them. Let's get Angela Rayner back. Yeah, great. Yeah, welcome to Planet Labour. Bunch of idiots, they really are. This is from Claire in Buckley, who actually asked me where's Ali Ross these days? Ali Ross, my friend, the Sun TV critic. We're going to get him on the show damn soon, Claire. I'm hoping to get him on a regular basis, but he's an evasive character. No, he's a good friend of mine, and we'll get him on again soon. Anyway, Claire said, she's in Buckley, by the way, she says, these rooms, she's talking about those hotel rooms in Manchester, these rooms are a disgrace. Just shut the borders. Us taxpayers should not be disrespected in such a way when we're footing the bill for these illegal aliens to live the life of Riley while our own people struggle. Call a national emergency, I say. Well, I think it is developing into an emergency. It's certainly a crisis. I mean, you know, a lot of these asylum seekers, too many of them, hundreds, charged with serious crimes, some of them being convicted, sent to jail. You know, we're talking about rape, we're talking about violent attacks, machete attacks. We saw earlier that guy just running up, trying to kidnap some poor teenage girl in Swindon, running off with her. Luckily stops. You know, this is it's certainly a crisis. It's a rising crisis. Thanks, Claire. Very good text. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Andy in Yorkshire. Hello, Andy.
Melbourne, Kev, how are you?
I'm all right, mate. What would you like to say?
Yeah, I'm just a bit concerned, to be honest with you, Kev. I've quite recently started watching the programme, and I'm tuned in every evening, as I like to say. I'm just very concerned about the ex-forces guys. I am actually one of them. A lot of them are now homeless or whichever, and the privileges that people get above the people that serve the country, it's really disturbing.
Andy, I mean, you're hitting a nerve there. You're touching on a nerve. A lot of people say this. These people, these asylum seekers, these migrants, cross the channel illegally, break into our country unlawfully, and we put them in 4-star hotels. We give them free food and all of the other enticements that we shower them with generously. Meanwhile, so many military veterans are homeless, living on the streets, you know, and people say, if we can just put all these illegal migrants into 4-star hotels, why can't we do it for our heroes, our military heroes?
It's sad, really, and the reason, you know, I say this, Kev, is purely because I think, you know, you come to the end of your military career and you're a forgotten bunch. It's just really sad. Anyway, I won't go too much into that. My other point is, we're banning the flags, we're doing this, we're doing that. Will they ban our poppy on Poppy Day?
It's, well, they won't ban them. They won't ban poppies, but you'll get the usual suspects who refuse to wear them because, you know, it's a symbol of war and British imperialism and all that kind of nonsense. But I think we will pretty soon. I think we will pretty soon start wearing our poppies here on Talk. I hope most of the people in the media do. Some of them don't. Some of them wear these white poppies. Which seem a bit ridiculous to me, but they better not. They better not ban them. I tell you what was worrying, Andy, is the British Legion charity that runs the Poppy Appeal. We found out that their office was running some very woke staff schemes, which were slightly worrying. But that notwithstanding, the Poppy Appeal is a very good cause, and I hope everybody wears one. I'm sure you'll be wearing one, won't you, Andy?
We are full of pride, you know, even to the day that we go. Anyone that serves is full of pride, Kev.
Yeah, and what did you serve in? Which force?
I was in the army 24 years.
24 years. Which regiment?
Royal Signals.
Well, Andy, I used to live in the States, and every time you met a serviceman, which is a tradition in America, you always said, thank you for your service. So I'm going to say to you, thank you for your service.
Served a good amount of time over there as well, and I do appreciate how they look after their veterans better than we do.
Exactly right. They respect their veterans. They're figures, they're individuals of respect. And as I say, every time people in America meet a serviceman, an ex-serviceman, or a current serviceman, they say, thank you for the service. And what do? We abandon them on the streets. It's all wrong, Andy. It is all wrong. But good to hear from you. And once again, thanks for your service and thank you for your call. Keep in touch. Andy in West Yorkshire there. Let's go over to a regular and excellent caller, Herbie in Harrow. Hello, Herbie.
Yes, good evening, Kevin. How are you this evening?
I'm all right, mate. What would you like to talk about tonight?
What I'd like to talk about is the blood on the hands of these politicians that are allowing these immigrants, illegal immigrants, to come in and overtake the country and do what they like, breaking the law, being treated for breaking the law and doing murderous things that they're doing. Absolute disgrace.
Hang on. What happened there? Let's get Herbie back. He was in full flow. But what he's talking about is, well, hopefully we'll get him back in just a second. What he's talking about is what I've been talking about. We are reaching a kind of critical mass. So we've known about this for a while. We've let in thousands and thousands and thousands and thousands of asylum seekers. Most of them are young men of, well, they like to say military age. I prefer to say sexually active age. Now, we found out about three months ago, a couple of months ago maybe, that hundreds of them, about 400, 500 of them, have been charged with various serious offences. And some of these offences are coming to court, some of them will be going to prison. But we're beginning to realise the scale of this problem. Herbie is back now. Herbie, are you there?
Yes, I'm here.
Yeah, I don't know what happened there, mate. Yeah, I was just sort of elaborating on what you were saying. That we've got all these, we've let in thousands of migrants, quite a significant number of them, hundreds, 400 or 500, yes, have been charged with serious offences. Some of them are beginning to come to court. Some of them are being sent to jail for rape, for violent attacks, machete attacks and so on and so forth. But this has only just started, and I think we're only now beginning to realise the scale of the problem we've got here.
Well, the trouble is, though, Kevin, although they may have been found guilty, they go to prison, but they're not deported. The government will not deport anybody. They won't do anything. They won't do anything to put this problem right. It's wrong, it's wrong, it's wrong, but they don't want to listen. They don't want to hear. I'll tell you what, it's time for the people to stand up and say, we've had enough. Your days are marked, definitely your days are marked. perhaps this is why they don't care, because they know their days are marked. They'll never get elected again. Never.
I don't think they will. We did a story, I don't know if you were watching earlier, Herbie, but we did a story earlier in the show. It's about this migrant Sudanese guy in Swindon. He came here in 2023. Oddly, because this is unusual, he was done for breaking into the country illegally. First time I've ever heard of that. And he was sent to jail, right? He did, I think he did 7 months. He came out of jail and was just allowed into the country. So he just, anyway, and now he's gone on then to try to kidnap a poor teenage girl in Swindon, and he's now admitted attempted kidnap. But my point is, you know, we put him in jail, and then we just let him out. I mean, after he finishes his sentence, shouldn't he be deported?
Yeah, but Kevin, this is exactly what I'm saying. Nothing's been done. The whole system is so corrupt and wrong. It's unbelievable how it's allowed to get away with it. How the governments have been allowed to get away with it, and the ministers and certainly the Prime Minister, is beyond belief. I mean, you say he should be put up, he should be had up for, as far as I'm concerned, treason to the country and treason to the people of the UK, to be honest.
Yeah, I fear, Herbie, what I fear is in terms of the violent crimes, the rapes being committed by asylum seekers, not all of them, let's not besmirch every single one of them, but there are too many of them who come here and abuse our hospitality by committing serious crimes. Hundreds are awaiting trial, and the more they go to court, the more we find out about this, the more this nation, the people of this country, are going to be furious. It's bringing into sharp focus what happens when you just let thousands of mainly young men into the country about whom you know nothing. It is an absurd system. We've been betrayed by successive governments, and of course Labour are making it even worse. Exactly right, Herbie. Always good to talk to you, mate. Thank you for a good call, as always. Let's go to Eileen in Essex. Hello, Eileen.
Hello there. How are you?
I'm very, very well. What would you like to say?
Well, good. It's just a throwaway line you said earlier. This term "working people" has been niggling at me, and your throwaway
hard-working people. Hard-working people.
Hard work. No, we are working people.
Oh, we're working people. Okay, yeah.
We'll be called working. He doesn't say working class. He says working people.
Right.
Which I've always found a bit niggling. And I've just had and you said a throwaway line. We're working for them. They do nothing, and we're working all the time. I've just had a bizarre thought that it will be ingrained into people's mind that we are the working people and we work for these people. So in 10, 20, 30 years' time, they will know no different. We just are the working people that work for these people.
Yeah, well, we're funding.
Yes, but it will be. They will just think, well, this is the normal thing. We work for them.
Well, this is the point.
We're working for them. Yeah.
This is the problem, Eileen. Here's the problem, right? Only recently it was revealed that something like 83% of these were legal migrants that Boris Johnson let in. They call it the Boris wave. He let in 3.8 million people between, I think it was 2021 and 2022. In 2 years, he let in 3.8 million people. Listen to this. So these were legal migrants. You would imagine, they've all got visas. Sure, they're going to do jobs. Yeah. Turned out that of the 3.8 million people that Boris let in legally in the Boris wave, 83% of them weren't working and do not work. 83%. Right. So we have to pay for them. We're letting in all these migrants and we're paying for them. It's ridiculous. They just claim benefits.
And this is what I'm saying. So in 10 years' time, 20 years' time, 30 years' time, it will be ingrained that we will just work for them. It's like some bizarre film.
We sort of already are, Eileen. We sort of already are.
I know, but nobody will be moaning about it because it will just be
ingrained.
It will be ingrained, and it will just be what you do. It will be like some, as I just said, some bizarre film from the 60s, and nobody will. Like you're standing up now, we're all standing up. People will just accept it.
Yeah, I hope that we never do. I'm feeling I sense that the people are really furious, hence the rise of reform. They're not going to put up with this anymore. They're mad as hell, and they're not going to put up with this anymore. But I hope you're wrong, Eileen. I hope we don't become compliant and just accept this mad scheme where we let in millions of migrants, of millions of foreigners, and then pay them benefits not to work. You're absolutely right. It's absolutely crazy, but it's so many... it's indicative of so many crazy things in this country right now. Eileen, good call. Thank you for ringing. Call me again. Eileen in Essex there. Right, let's have a bit of fun, shall we? Let's go and talk to my friend Kevin in Basingstoke. Well, Kevin, you could knock me down with a feather. So you support footballers taking the knee, do you? I never thought you'd do that. Tell me why.
Well, because there is a lot of racism in football.
Yeah, but what does that achieve?
Well, I mean, it makes us talk about it. It makes me phone you.
Doesn't stop it, does it?
Well, it might help.
Yeah, but they've been doing it for 5 years. They started in 2020. There's still a lot of racism in football.
Yeah, well, that proves we still need to talk about it. And I mean, Kevin, do you know hate crime has gone up massively over the last 15 years?
Yeah, well, this is what I would do in order to solve that problem. I would cancel all hate crimes. I would get rid of all hate laws. They're a scourge.
What, you don't think if you're black or brown or a certain religion or sex, and you're somebody...
I don't think that we should have crimes for what they call hate. No.
Why not? If it's hateful towards someone because they're gay or black or whatever, then that's a hate crime, isn't it?
Yeah, but why necessarily? I mean, obviously, I don't condone that. I think it's a disgusting thing to do, but I'm not sure that it should be part of the criminal process.
Why? Because those people in law...
Well, so because it's sort of social engineering, isn't it? It's kind of...
No,
it's like criminalising people for what they say and what they believe.
Well, no. If these people are protected by law because they're victimised, because they're black or gay or whatever, then surely you should face, a worse sentence because you're picking on them because of who they are.
I mean, I think you kind of might have a semi-point here. I do think we probably need to discourage, maybe legally, overt racism or homophobia. I massively... despise the idea of picking on people because of the colour of their skin or their sexual inclination. That must not be encouraged. I just sort of recoil a bit about the idea of laws that are aimed towards trying to make you think in the right probable way, if you see what I mean. But I think actually, Kev, you probably got a point there. I do take that point. But I don't like hate laws. I don't like hate crimes. Look, you've got a point. You've got a point. I think
you've never been a victim of a hate crime, have you?
How do you know?
Well, have you?
Oh, you made a statement just there. You said I haven't been a victim of a hate crime.
Well,
how do you know that?
Well, I don't know for definite.
You're making an assumption then, aren't you?
You're not black or gay or...
Well, that doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
Well, no, you've not been looking at that.
No, but hate crimes are, they're not just exclusively to protect people of colour or gay people or trans people. They're not exclusively to protect those kind of people.
You can be a victim of crime. Everybody can be a victim of crime, but not everybody can be a victim of a hate crime, can they? Because
they can actually. Of course they can. Of course they can. Everybody can be a victim of a hate crime because of who they are. It is racism against white people is also illegal.
Before you cut me up,
which I'm about to do. Trust me. Go on. What were you saying?
Do you know which has seen the biggest increase in hate crime?
Well, you just said that.
Transgender people have seen the biggest increase of hate crime towards them, and the effects of that is a large number of them are committing suicide.
That's very sad.
Self-harming and suffering with depression.
Oh, that's sad to hear. That's sad to hear. That's sad to hear.
Pardon?
That's sad to hear.
Yes, so that's why these people need protection.
Well, hang on a second. I thought we were talking about taking the knee.
Well, we are, but taking the knee is about discrimination, isn't it?
No, but look, OK, let's get back to the point of the conversation. Taking the knee is an empty gesture that has achieved nothing.
Well, then that means that they're...
Then that means we might as well stop it, mightn't we?
What, and replace it with what?
Nothing. You don't need to replace it with proper action, you know, to tackle the fact there are no black managers in the Premier League. There are. I have never seen. I'm not sure. I'm sure there have been a few, but I've never. Rarely do you see a black or a person of colour as a referee. It's all very rare. So deal with the realities. Let's not mess around with stupid, empty, virtue signalling gestures like multi-millionaire footballers getting down on one knee. These gestures have achieved the square root of nothing. They just haven't achieved anything. So empty gestures, Kev, I'm against. I think you might have beaten me in the hate crime row. I think I might have lost that one. I'll give you that one. Although I'm very uncomfortable about hate crimes, I really am. But I take your point. I don't want to see people picked on for the colour of their skin, their sexuality, or anything like that. I agree with you there. Kev, I'm tempted to say it's always nice to talk to you, but I'm not sure it is. No, it is. It's good to... I don't know why you would listen to this show or you watch this show, but I'm glad to have you on board. I always enjoy talking to you. Kevin in Basingstoke there. Why does that guy watch this show? Seriously. Let's go to break. Let's take some more calls after we come back.
Across the UK, on DAB+, on your smart speaker, on your smart TV, and on your side. This is Talk.
By the way, there's your answer. Terry Coleshaw has said, "Evening, Kev, has Petrie been laid off?" No, look, you just heard her. She's on at 11 p.m. after Harry Cole saves the West. She's sort of been moved a little later into the night. So don't worry about that, Terry. Terry goes on to say, these illegals attacking young girls, I'll tell you what, we should bring back the birch. That will cure them. Then deport them forthwith. I think maybe, you know, if people are raping or sexually assaulting girls, the birch, not really enough, Terry, is it? You know, all right, yeah, you've raped someone, we're going to cane you. It's not going to work, is it? But deport them, yeah, 100%. That's Terry from Bolton, Reform supporter. Right, let's go back to the phones. Let's talk to Stuart in Edinburgh. Hello, Stuart.
Kevin, good evening. How are you, mate?
I'm all right. Your wife is a migrant who came in on the Boris wave, I'm reading. Is that right?
Correct. Yeah. And just I heard you saying like 83% of them are not working and are.
Well, they weren't. Well, they didn't. The makeup of the Boris Wave people that were let in was quite staggering. I mean, 83% not working, probably still not working. I'm not sure about your wife, but you see what I mean.
Yeah. So my wife doesn't work. Now she looks after the kids.
Well, that's all right. That's nothing wrong with it. Nothing wrong with that.
Right. So the whole basis of the application was based on my income and that I could support it. I don't understand how these people are getting benefits if they are, because it was made clear to us when we made the application that she would be not entitled to any benefits. She would pay the NHS fee and the visa application fee. We've got private healthcare. She doesn't even use the NHS because it's so terrible. So I just think we need to be careful when we're tarring everybody with the same brush.
Well, yeah. I mean, I take your point. I take your point, Stuart. I don't know. Did she come here? Did you meet her when she came here, or you'd already met her?
I was living down in Portugal for a while.
And you met her there.
Met her there, and then brought her back and paid all the fees.
Did you marry in Portugal or marry here?
We actually married in Denmark. For
It just sounds to me, Stuart, as if your wife is a very different case to what we're talking about.
Right, but that's all I'm concerned about. It's just that everybody's talking about it and everybody's getting tarred with the same brush here. Whereas we need to actually understand who's causing the country problems and who we're trying to.
Yeah, absolutely. You're totally right. We've got to be careful. We can't go, all asylum seekers are terrible and all migrants should get out of the country. No. Right. You've got to be careful about that. Most asylum seekers are decent people. I'm sure most migrants are decent people. But you can see from the statistics that too many of them are not.
But how are they getting benefits, Kev? That's what I don't understand, because it was told to us crystal clear she will not be entitled to anything until she got indefinite leave to remain.
It's interesting. Yeah, well, I think that's what's interesting. Asylum seekers immediately get nearly 50 quid a week immediately.
Yeah,
so I'm not. I mean, you tell me, sure. I don't know. But certainly your wife, in terms of that indefinite leave to remain after 5 years. She's indicative of what does happen to most of them. They get, at 5 years, when they get indefinite leave to remain, migrants get full benefits and welfare rights.
The simple solution to that is to say you can have indefinite leave to remain, but until you're a British passport holder, you will not be entitled to any benefits.
Oh, that's what. Yes, exactly, Stuart. Exactly. Except we don't do that. But listen, I wasn't. I'm sure your wife does sound like a sort of a different kind of a case. But we do have a problem here. 3.8 million, 83% of them not working, and they're all about to qualify for indefinite leave to remain. And when they do, that could cause a kind of welfare tidal wave, a tsunami that could bankrupt the country. It's a real problem. Stuart, I've got to move on though. Regards to your wife, and thank you for a good call. Stuart in Edinburgh. Let's go to, Matthew says, this is a text, how do you stand up to racism? By getting down on one knee? Don't know, exactly. Such a stupid thing to do. Oh, this will sort it out. I'll just get down on one knee. Oh, racism's over. Great. Matthew goes on to say, on Angela Rayner, if the left did not have double standards, they would have no standards at all. Well said, Matt. Let's quickly go to, we've still got time here. Let's talk to Dan in Portsmouth. Hi, Dan.
Hello, Kev. I'm actually in Saudi, but I'll keep it quick.
Okay.
So listen, Kev, your mate Kev had it all wrong, right?
Yeah.
Hate crimes are up in their reporting, not in convictions. And to report a hate crime is only a perception. You say something to me and you mention that maybe I'm a little bit shorter than I'd like to be. I can consider that a hate crime. It's my perception that he's hated towards me and I can report it. That's what's gone up. And second point is this Black Lives Matter thing. Right? No one's got a problem with people. We had stand up to racism. No one had a problem with that. It's the gesture and what it's linked to. George Floyd was a vile piece of human trash, all right? And the Black Lives Matter movement were found to be very deceptive on where their money went.
Oh, yes, to say the least. They're a bunch of crooks.
Do something different.
Yeah, totally.
Do something different. It's just taking the knee.
Do something practical. Do something palpable.
Exactly.
Going down on one knee doesn't do that. And by the way, when you talked about hate crimes, I didn't really express myself very well when I was talking to my friend, my left-wing friend, Kevin in Basingstoke. I think what I meant to say is that, the problem with hate crimes, as you were indicating, Dan, is it is a system of law that is too often abused. Exactly right. I go to the police and say, oh, somebody said I wasn't tall enough. That's a hate crime. And because I say I feel I'm the victim of a hate crime, the police start treating it like it is a crime. So hate crimes, I guess some of them have to be around, they have to exist, but they are all too often abused. Thank you for helping me down the right path on that, Dan. And you're right about taking the knee as well. Absolute waste of space. Dan, good call. Thank you for ringing. Call me again. Very good call, that. We've got time. Let's talk to... hang on. Yes, we have got time. Let's talk to Brian in Whitley Bay. Hello, Brian.
Hi, Kev. Great news. A grooming gang in Gateshead yesterday were found guilty of raping several girls in Saltwell Park, and they're going to be getting long prison sentences next month.
Well, it's great news that they got caught, but you know, this is going on all the time. That is good, but there's more to come, I fear.
Yeah, it's these guys, you know, they've been doing over years in the park, you know, grabbing young girls, 13, 14-year-olds, piling them with drinks, drugs, raping them, and yeah, they've all been found guilty, thank God, and hopefully when they get long prison sentences, they'll be chucked out of the country.
Well, yeah, but there's a couple of problems with that, Brian. Is you might find some of them are British citizens. They'll be usually they're Muslim men of Pakistani origin, but many of them are British citizens. And the other thing to bear in mind that is the big problem. This is, you know, it's good that they've got their just desserts. Good that they're going down, but this is going on. This is still happening. The rape gang scandal continues apace all over the country. It is still happening.
Yeah, tens of thousands of young girls are, you know,
250,000 victims.
Dear God.
250,000. And by the way, when are we going to get our rape gang inquiry? Because Labour yesterday revealed that they can't find anyone to chair the inquiry. So I wonder whether or not we will get justice on that front. We certainly should do.
Yeah. Kevin's far too big. That's why they can't have an inquiry, because it's far too big. It's happening up and down the country, every town, everywhere.
Well,
I mean, it's everywhere. It's endemic.
Well, let's hope that. Well, yeah, but the problem always was that too many people turned a blind eye. Coppers, teachers, social workers, etc. Well, let's hope they don't do that anymore. But we've got to bear in mind that it's still a clear and present problem. The rape gang scandal. It's still happening. Brian, thanks for an excellent call. Brian in Whitley Bay there. Regular call, always good to hear from him. Well, that's about it. Pretty soon we'll be handing over the reins we'll go all the way over live to Washington for Harry Cole Saves the West. So, yes, he'll be taking over very soon. In the meantime, it's been really good to have your company tonight. I hope you found mine vaguely acceptable. And I'm going to be back tomorrow for another edition of the Political Asylum right here on Talk. 7 o'clock, same time, same place. I expect you to be there. And in the meantime, stay tuned for Harry Cole Saves the West. And stay cool, stay calm, stay safe.